didn't really. He threw okay. He threw well. Bickford gave up a couple of runs. Perdomo came in, gave up a run, but the 5 runs done early. It didn't matter. Corbin Burnes could have gave up 30. Didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. Because in the grand scheme of things, it was ultimately it was
877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Corbin Burnes didn't get any run support. He ends up losing, and the Brewers fall. But that's okay. Look, they're going to be back at it again today. Hopefully they can now take 2 out of 3 from the Marlins and continue on. We'll go north and hear from Brian Gutey coming up here in just a little bit. We want to talk about that. You want to talk the NHL. I don't talk a lot about the NHL, but the NHL is making a move, in case you didn't know. And I want to talk a little NHL today as well, because they're changing some things, and I just don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be good. And we'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. In the meantime, you got Kyle Shanahan thinking that everybody could possibly be dead come Sunday, so he's not going to give you any guarantees when it comes to his quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Just a lot of weird stuff coming out of yesterday. A lot of weird stuff coming out of yesterday and coming out of some of the press conferences for head coaches, general managers, stuff like that. So just a weird, strange day. Strange day. In addition to that, Brian Gutey takes to the microphone, and he throws out the Aaron Rodgers is our guy for the foreseeable future. For the foreseeable future. Okay. So now what? What the hell does that mean? We'll hear more from Gutey coming up here in just a little bit, but it's Gutey speak. You know, it's what are you talking about? For the foreseeable future, he's your quarterback, man. He's your quarterback. Why can't you come to some type of an agreement with your quarterback and get it done? Now, he did say, we are doing this thing day to day, but nevertheless, it's not fast enough for many of us, and it still leaves a lot of people scratching their head going, well, why aren't you just getting the thing done? So there's a lot to get to. Again, Brewers take it on the chin. You got 3 for 4 from Colton Wong, who continues to just tear up the baseball. Tyrone Taylor goes 2 for 4 last night. Keston Hiura get a base knock last night, so it was good to see him, even though his other 3 trips to the plate all resulted in strikeouts. McKinney goes 1 for 3 yet again. Urias comes in, and he goes 1 for 2. He ended up with a strikeout on the day as well. But Corbin Burnes not as sharp. Like I said, he gave up 5 runs, 4 earned, 9 strikeouts, not a walk, no long balls. The ERA is now at 1.53 through 87 pitches on the day. He got into a jam early in this ball game. He just looked like he wasn't as on as he has been in the past. And again, you kind of felt that eventually things are going to come back down to earth, right? Where the pitching, he's not going to throw up that 0.47 ERA all season long. It's not going to happen. So when you do come back down to earth, you're going to rely on the offense. And last night the offense was just not there. 8-0 the final, and it just never materialized for the Brewers. And a couple of errors as well on the evening. 1 error, as a matter of fact, on the evening. They ended up having the missing the cutoff man a couple of times. Runners advancing, keeping pitchers on the mound a little bit longer than they needed to be, but just not the greatest performance last night out of the Milwaukee Brewers, who came home with a head of steam after winning 5 out of 6 on the road, and their home record not nearly as good. Which I'm not going to say it's concerning, but American Family Field, that home field advantage, that's kind of what you've been hoping for, right? And the fact that at home you're still, you still got some wins, but you're 4-6. You're under 500 at home. You're 9-3 on the road. 9-3 on the road, 4-6 at home. So they talked about having that the fans in the stands and the energy they bring and all that positivity, and it just hasn't materialized in American Family Field for whatever reason. So Brewers now 13-9, still 2 games ahead of St. Louis, who has lost yet again. Pittsburgh, by the way, tied 2 games back. They've won 2 in a row now. Chicago and Cincinnati both battling it out for the basement right now at 3 games behind the Brewers. So the Brewers didn't lose any ground. It wasn't detrimental last night, but nevertheless, it just wasn't their best performance. So hopefully they bounce back, they get a win today, and all will be right with the world. So we'll wait and see. But like I said, the real story yesterday, I think more so than anything, came from up north. Came from Brian Gutekunst, who went to the podium and told everybody, yeah, we love Aaron Rodgers. He's our guy. He did everything but cheer, yay, Aaron's, he's our guy, that type of thing. And then proceeded to throw out a lot of stuff that just didn't seem to make a lot of sense. Okay, I get, and he didn't say necessarily that he's not going all in. I like the fact that he did kind of allude to the fact that, yeah, they could possibly trade up. They could possibly move up. They could possibly find a guy. Now, he did say, well, it's never great to fall in love with a guy. Didn't they kind of do that with Jordan Love last year? Didn't they kind of do that with Jordan Love? So I'm not going to say it's hypocritical, but they kind of did that with Jordan Love last year. So, okay, you don't fall in love with a guy. I get it. It just seems like there's a lot of tap dancing when it comes to speaking publicly about the situation in Green Bay. Who knows? They may be sitting right now inside the walls of 1265, kind of laughing at all the speculation and all the criticism and the way it publicly looks. And I mean, I've said this before, I'm kind of holding out hope that they get this done. He did seem to sound open. And like I said, coming up in the next segment of the show, we're going to hear everything that Gutekunst had to say. But he did seem to sound open, as if day to day, we're going to work with Aaron. We're going to get a restructure done. We're going to get all that taken care of. Aaron's our guy. But what is the foreseeable future? That's like, if a girlfriend that you're really not sure about comes up to you and says, hey, I'm still your girlfriend, right? And you look at her and you go, yeah, you are today. It's almost a qualifier just to say, yeah, for the foreseeable future, what we don't foresee is the next 6 months or the next 8 months or the next 10 months or the next year. We don't know what the foreseeable future is going to hold come this time next year. Yeah, we don't know. And then when all the speculation about the draft and such comes out, then yesterday you hear that the Atlanta Falcons are open to trading everybody. That's including Julio Jones. And immediately, national media, pundits, NFL Network, everybody says you should be going after Julio Jones if you're the Green Bay Packers. The Atlanta Falcons could possibly be looking for a quarterback. Now, I don't think you can't trade away Jordan Love, only for the fact that you would take a salary cap hit. But imagine if you're the Falcons. Okay? Now, bear with me here for a minute. And let's say, you know what? It might not be the worst thing in the world if you want to trade away Julio Jones. Who are you going to trade him for? Okay? So you trade away Julio Jones. You put him in the Packers system. Don't forget, Atlanta is picking at number 4. Okay? So Atlanta's picking at number 4. Could they then trade out of that? Or let's just say they pick at number 4 and Trevor Lawrence goes, Zach Wilson goes, and either Mac Jones or Justin Fields or whoever San Francisco has their mind on. Well, at that point then, if you're Atlanta and you traded away Julio Jones, and let's just say you pick up Jordan Love, there's the future of your franchise if you think that he is the quarterback. So you don't have to take a quarterback. You now have your quarterback of the future. Why not then take the tight end Kyle Pitts, who everybody seems to think that he's one of the better receivers that's going to be out there, whether it's as a tight end or a wideout in the slot, right? Take the best that's there. Because then that flips the board around a little bit, because Miami was kind of hoping to move up and pick up Kyle Pitts, which would then, who would they take? And then down in Cincinnati, they're on the Sewell bandwagon. So it looks like the big offensive tackle out of Oregon is going to end up in Cincinnati unless they screw that up. And Atlanta then has their guy. Maybe it all works out in that fashion. And in the meantime, the Green Bay Packers add another quality veteran, even though he is often injured, another quality veteran opposite Devontae Adams. That would pretty much vault that offense to being the best offense with that, and then Aaron Jones in the backfield, and a tight end that can catch touchdown passes. That would almost vault you immediately to being the best offense in the NFC. Then all you got to do is concentrate on the draft. Start filling pieces defensively. And if by chance you do end up with another guy, say Elijah Moore, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss, or you get, say, Tevin Jenkins, the big offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State, if they're available, you take them at the bottom of the draft. Then you've got the rest of then your offense is done. Then you got the rest of the draft to maneuver, manipulate, and slide up and down to go ahead and find yourself more and more defensive players. It sounds a little crazy. I get it, but it might not be the worst way to go. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, want to think about it, give us a shout. Now, Julio probably not going to get traded until after June 1st. But you could still, if you make a deal with Atlanta and they know, because I mean, let's be honest, everybody has deals going on right now. You just know when you're going to make those deals. Let's just say that you kind of wink and a nod, you're going to do that deal after June 1st. He counts less against the cap. So that way the Falcons can go ahead and deal him. They can pick up a guy like Jordan Love. I mean, I'm just throwing scenarios out there. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there is a very, 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 very slim chance that even comes close to happening. But been warning. If you flip through the NFL Network, if you're watching the 4-letter network, if you're watching Fox, or even Pro Football Talk, they got into that discussion. I just still don't think that Julio, if he is going to get dealt, I don't think he's going to get dealt for a while, and I don't think he's going to go to the Green Bay Packers. But it's a thought. 877-867-1670. When we come back, you're going to hear from the general manager of your Green Bay Packers, Brian Gutekunst, and some things, we're going to discuss it all. Some things you're going to go, you know what? I like that. Okay, I appreciate what he's saying here. And other things you're going to go, what the hell was that? And we're going to hear it all. Coming up next on The Bill Michaels Show.
Ready? This is The Bill Michaels Show, Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Your neck of the woods. So thanks everybody listening all over the state. Don't forget you can get a hold of us on many different platforms. Go to thebillmichaels.com. That's thebillmichaels.com, and you can listen live there. There's a link right there. But if you choose to watch us on the Bud Light live stream, you can do so as well in the Bud Light live stream simply on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You can subscribe on YouTube and on Twitch TV and free of charge. Now you can take us anywhere and everywhere and listen to us in that fashion as well. So good stuff. So Brian Gutekunst spoke to the media, and it was I don't know. It just was weird. I don't know how else to put it. It was just weird. So the first question was, hey, look, what's up with Aaron Rodgers? Is there a problem here? What's going on?
Listen, I think I understand your question. I'm not really sure exactly where you're coming from, but what I will say is, we're really excited about Aaron Rodgers and his future with the Green Bay Packers. We think, he's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future. And I think that, obviously every year there's different things you go through to kind of get to the season. And I think we're going through those right now, whether it be contractually, whether it be, working with our players on other things. And that's where we are. But again, he's such a unique, different player than anyone that I've ever been around. And he affects our organization in so many different ways that, you can't value him because he's so important to what we do. So we're excited moving forward, and we'll kind of see where things go.
All right. He's our quarterback for the foreseeable future. There's so many things going on with contracts and such. And he could have just come out and said, look, Aaron's our guy. The question was basically, is there a rift between the Packers organization and Aaron? He could have just said, no, he's our guy, period. They won't put that stamp on it. He's our quarterback for the foreseeable future. Yes, of course, sweetheart. You're my girlfriend today. You are my wife for the foreseeable future. Can you imagine that? Doesn't that sounds like just ominous. So Gutekunst was asked, well, what does Aaron Rodgers want from the Packers regarding his deal?
Well, I'm not going to speak for Aaron, Rob. What I will say is that you're probably referring a little bit to the contract and some other things, but that's kind of something we're working through. I think it's something that we've talked about quite a bit as we've worked through this salary cap situation, which is really kind of a 2-year situation. We've looked at a lot of different things, and then that's one of them.
Okay. We looked at the cap situation, which is really a 2-year situation. And because he doesn't answer the question, he says, what does Aaron Rodgers want from the Packers regarding his contract status? He doesn't answer. It's well, you know, he said you have to ask Aaron, but well, no. Haven't you and Aaron talked? Haven't you guys talked? Then he was asked, how important is it to get Aaron Rodgers' contract reworked to ensure his future in Green Bay?
First of all, I'm not going to get into contract specifics, but Aaron's our guy. He's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future. We're excited about, you know, kind of the things we're going to try to accomplish here over the next couple of years. So we certainly think that, you know, with the contract that you're kind of talking about, is something we'll work through. We're going to have to do probably a few things with different contracts as we head towards the season and through the season to make sure that our salary cap situation, not only this year, but in 2022 is square. So we're not done yet. We've done a lot to get here. We've kind of been doing things as we go, and we will continue to do that as we go.
Okay. We're going to continue on, but I've heard enough. Do you know what he's saying? Because he's used the term, I think, 3 times. Do you understand what he's saying? And the rumors seem to be true. Aaron Rodgers wanted at least 3 more years, guaranteed. Possibly 4. Gutey has now said 3 separate times, 2 years. 2 years, meaning 2 seasons. That's what they're building the future on. For the next 2 years. Contracts for the next 2 years. For the next foreseeable 2 years. Really, we're going to rework contracts, but it's not for just this year, it's for 2 years. Everything he's saying, without saying it, is telling you it's 2 years. We don't want to give Rodgers more than that. 2 years. So the question is moving Rodgers guaranteed, you know, cash limited by the next year's salary cap?
No, not at all. Again, you know, we're going to be kind of in the same situation next year as we are this year, right? We're trying to continue to push more money out to field our team. I think we had to do a lot of things to bring guys back this year, and we'll have to do that again. So we're not done by any means yet, and we are working through that with a number of our players, including Aaron.
Okay, we're working through that, and I can see that. Okay, that's an honest statement, because my assumption is when he says contracts now and throughout the season, first of all, you need money now. It's like you're going out and trying to buy a couple of cars, and they're going to be about $7,000, and you've got $1,000 in your hand. That's where you're standing right now. So you can't buy the cars without doing something. So when he talks about reworking deals, yeah, they're going to redo Devontae Adams. You would assume they're probably going to extend Jay Alexander a little bit too, although that's not going to buy you a lot in the free agent market and buy you a lot of cap space. But they're going to do this. But I mean, make no mistake about it. He's talking about 2 years, and we all know what happens in 2 years. So they're not going to get rid of Aaron Rodgers at the end of this season, but they're eyeballing 2 years. After that second season, that's what they're eyeballing. That's a damn shame, because I have heard. Now we're gonna hear from here in a second, but he's talked about, well, we're going to do more. We're not done yet, which is good. It's positive, but there's no specifics to it. He's not saying, hey, we're going out and still looking for free agents to come in and bolster this team. He's just saying we're not done yet. Well, whatever the hell that means. I mean, he didn't define what the hell foreseeable means. Now, Gutey's question was, did the lower salary cap, how much does it prevent you from bringing in other free agents this season?
The way I look at it is we were able to kind of sign the number 1 running back on the market, the number 1 left tackle on the market, and the number 1 defensive tackle on the market. So we just happened to all play for us, which is great. Kudos to Ted Thompson there. But I thought we were very active. We certainly did a lot, maybe a little bit outside of what we normally do as far as pushing money forward to kind of continue to keep this team together so we can, make another run.
So Gutey's then asked, are there enough good players in this class to fill the draft board with legit players for the Packers?
We have, and I think it's a pretty good draft overall. I will say, to your point, Bill, that certainly, on the different areas of our room in the draft room where we keep different names, there's just less. Specifically, I think it's going to affect us a little bit in the undrafted free agent market. There's just a smaller pool of players maybe than there have been in the past. It'll be interesting going into next year to see how that that changes next year's draft, and if that's significantly larger or what, we'll kind of see how that goes. But we kind of anticipated this a little bit, and kind of I think our roster sits, just above 70 right now, which is much higher than we've ever been before. So I think as we go into this, we'll be a little more selective, certainly in the undrafted free agent market.
So this is what you got to look forward to, people. It's not a strong draft class. So he's saying, right, we're going to have to be really, really good in the undrafted free agent market. Now, Sam Shields, Tremont Williams, those guys are undrafted free agents. They came in, they've contributed to this team and helped this team win a championship. So I'm not knocking undrafted free agents. You can find them. You got to be really good at it, but you can find them. But that's why you're looking at this going, yeah, I'm not pinning all my. This is the reason I keep telling you. This team has got to figure out a way to spend some money. If you are prognosticating 2 years, then you have got to push your chips to the middle of the table. You cannot do it by just strictly building through the draft. Gutey was asked if this weak draft class means teams are going to be trying to trade back.
Yeah, I could see that. That's not always the easiest thing to do, and there's not a ton of those kind of day 3 trades for future picks. But I could see some people trying to acquire, 2022 picks, just because they feel like maybe their board isn't as strong. But I don't think that'll be us. I think the way we look right now with the numbers, we kind of feel that our board is significantly strong. Basically at the top as well through the bottom. So we feel pretty good about it.
So Aaron Rodgers' cap hit this year is $37.5 million right now. Okay. Damn near 20% of your team's total payroll. All right. What upside?
I don't really get into too many details about conversations with players, contract negotiations with players. But again, like I said earlier, I think it's very important for us to work through the next 2 years to get this salary cap thing right. We will have to address many contracts over the next 4 or 5 months to kind of get under the cap for the season. And that's certainly one where we will probably address that as well.
Did you catch that? Again, the words 2 years. The next 2 years. Now, he's not lying. The next 2 years are going to be difficult, but he's not talking beyond 2 years when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Not once has he said right now, right here, right now, he is our quarterback. We're going to keep him in Green Bay until he's ready to retire. We want Aaron here. Barring major injury, we want Aaron here. He's not said any of that. It's all about 2 years. It's all about 2 years. And then he said right there, did you catch it at the end? The question was, what is the $37.5 million? What's the upside of that? And then he said, yeah, we'll address that as the season goes along. Now, is he talking about the business season for the NFL or during the regular season? Is he not going to restructure this thing until he positively at the last minute has to because you really don't want to keep Aaron Rodgers around? Are you kidding me? Are those words falling out of my mouth? With all the veteran players, Gutekunst was asked, you got a bunch of contracts coming up. How critical right now is it to find replacements in the draft?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, you guys know around here how important the draft is to our process and what it means. We certainly believe in the draft and develop and developing players to become, future stars here. So it's very, very important. I think this year is probably not a lot different than any other. I think the situation we find ourselves in maybe differently than we have in the past here is just that we've kind of really pushed out some money into future years because we realize the opportunity that is before us. You know what I mean? We're a really good football team. We've been knocking on the door for 2 years, and we'd like to finish that.
To finish that, absolutely. Let's do this. We're up against the clock. Let's step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll hear more from Brian Gutekunst, the Packers general manager. But am I missing something? Are you hearing something different than I am? This is all about 2 years. This is all about your window is for 2 years. Now, after that, they are worried about maybe what life after Jordan Love or life after Aaron Rodgers into the Jordan Love era and being able to have enough money to put a team around Jordan Love. He's not talking about Aaron Rodgers more than 2 years. Over and over and over and over again. I don't know. I mean, things can always change. Hope springs eternal, right? But as of right now, I can't fathom it. Foreseeable 2 years. Thank you very much. More of the Bill Michaels Show is next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Crisp red apples with fresh strawberry. Cider Boy Strawberry Magic Hard Cider.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Hang in there, buddy.
Somebody been shot. Somebody's been.
Welcome back. Glad to have you. Listening to Brian Gutey, the Packers general manager of the Green Bay Packers, talking to the media yesterday, and basically kind of stuck on the 2-year situation. Some reaction coming in already. Eric says, if you're throwing away 2 years by not signing free agents and et cetera, you might as well just unload Rodgers now for picks and just start the rebuild. Why drag Rodgers through this crap? And Rodgers' cap hit's very high. Not that he's worth it right now, but you can't sign a free agent with zero cap space. Chris says you're grasping at straws right now, but if you're trying to be positive here, if you look at the contracts on the books, they have $219 million already for 2022, which is going to be over the cap. So they need to work on this year's cap and next year's cap. Only $112 million for 2023. Not a whole lot to plan for in 2023. That I agree with. And that's why he keeps saying it's a 2-year process, because of the salary cap situation. I understand that. I completely get that. Juice over there on Twitter says, I appreciate the show. I hear a lot of criticism towards the Packers and Gutey regarding Rodgers, but how much of the delay with an extension is Rodgers himself? I don't hear anybody talk about that. No, we've discussed that. We've discussed that this could be due in part to Aaron Rodgers just basically looking at the Packers going, no, you made your bed, man. You went out and signed a quarterback. Go figure it out. So you're absolutely correct. I mean, this could be on Rodgers. However, you don't hear either side putting an olive branch out there, do you? You don't hear Aaron Rodgers saying, you know what, I want to work this out. I know we need some space. I know we've got some issues. I know we're up against the cap. You don't hear Aaron saying that. I'd love to work it out. You don't, not like Brady. Brady's like, nah, I don't need a raise. I just want to win. Keep me the same, whatever we need, we're good to go. Let's do it. You don't hear that. What you hear is beautiful mystery. It's a beautiful mystery. Let them figure it out. It's a beautiful mystery. I don't know. I don't control my own fate. I mean, that's, technically, that's like going into a crowded movie theater and somebody fires up a cigarette. And you look over and you see the smoke and you see him smoking, but instead you yell, smoke, fire, when, yeah, technically you're right. But it's just a cigarette. So everybody goes running and screaming out of the theater thinking the thing's on fire. When no, you know better. It's not. Same thing with saying that I don't control my own fate. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because if you walk through the doors right now and said, I want to be a Packer for life. I don't need to be the highest paid player in the NFL. I don't need to make 25% of our salary cap. Just put me down around 13. Let's get this thing done. Extend me out and keep me down here for the remainder of my career, because I want to be the greatest quarterback in Green Bay Packer history. And I think that I want to win 2, 3 more Super Bowls and bring them back to Titletown. Yeah, you that's within your power. So to say you're powerless, that the beautiful mystery crap doesn't wash. And Gutey certainly never said, hey, we want Aaron to be here forever. We want to work it out with him to whatever it is that it's going to take to make sure that he's our quarterback to the day he retires. Doesn't say any of that either, right? So this whole beautiful mystery crap, that's exactly what it is. So then Gutey was asked about more specifically of this draft because you've got players that are banged up. You got players that opted out, didn't even play this year or played minimal games. So how difficult has it been to just evaluate these players coming into the draft medical-wise?
Yeah, it's tough. I will say, we have an excellent medical staff with Flea and Dr. McKenzie who put a lot of time in to these prospects. They've been probably challenged more this year than any other just because of us not having a traditional combine. But I have a lot of faith in those guys. And I think, every year there's risk with all these guys, medically. And it's a little bit of a, kind of an educated guess more than anything. But I have a lot of confidence in those guys and the information they provide me with to make those decisions. But you always have a little apprehension. And this year, I think specifically with some guys, maybe on that third day, you're going to have less information than you've had in the past.
He was also asked, will it be enough or will it be tough? Should I say, will it be tough? Not enough. Will it be tough? When you talk about some of these guys that opted out, will it be tough to pick a guy in the draft that has not played for a year? College football is one thing, pro football is the other. How tough is it going to be to select a guy who opted out?
Yeah, I think it's a case by case, Mike. I think each individual that opted out of the 2020 season, I think we spent a lot of time this spring on why, or what the reasonings were for them, and really it's interesting. Obviously, the different conferences and the way they handle the pandemic and how they approach their seasons is an important factor. I think the West at one point, and a lot of players made decisions at that point that were pretty tough to come back from once they decided to have a season, where the SEC and the ACC, I think they never got to that point where they canceled their season. So some guys had, family matters and people who had significant health risks. And so we go through each individual and kind of figure it out. And that, played half the season and opted out at the end because they got advice from their coach. There's just a ton of different reasons. So we go through those each one. And the way we look at it kind of depends on that.
So with 10 picks this year, you got some extras to spare. I mean, there is some quality talent, specifically in the first round and a half, when it comes to guys that you believe are pretty quality dudes. So how tempting is it, knowing you have a couple of needs, to maybe trade up to get a better player in the draft?
It's always tempting for me. I think when you're sitting at 29 and watching those kind of players come off the board that that you've spent so much time studying and kind of thinking about how they could affect your football team, it's always tempting. I think it's you got to be careful, and you got to be careful not to fall in love with any individual player. But we'll look at each opportunity we have to move up. We've done that in the past. We've moved down in the past as well. But we'll look at each opportunity, and if it makes sense, we certainly won't be afraid to do that.
You can't fall in love with any particular player. Isn't that Jordan Love? Just throwing it out there. Hey, with the COVID rules, will there be, working from the office or at home? I mean, are you going to be in the war room this year?
Yeah, we'll be back in the draft room. Obviously, last year we weren't able to do that, so it'll be nice to be back in the draft room. The way the league set it up, there was a couple choices that you could have to do it and follow the protocol. So we'll have about 18 guys in the room. We really don't have to exclude anybody. That's about the normal number of people we have in the room. Along with our scouts and, obviously Coach and Russ, and there'll be a number of medical people in the room as well. So we'll have our normal allotment, and there'll be some protocols in place. But we're lucky enough here to have a really large draft room, so we're able to spread out and kind of follow those protocols.
More Brian Gutey coming up when we come back, but reaction pouring in. I want to get as many voices heard as I can today. And if you've got a reaction to this coming up after the top of the hour, we're going to open up the phone lines, 877-867-1670. Start lining them up now. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
when you talk about what Brian Gutekunst has said to this point, he is very much cut of the same cloth of Ted Thompson. And that is, I'm not going to tell you what I don't want you to know. He's not going to tell you, hey, we're going to draft for need. That way, when the Packers are on the clock, I mean, every team knows what direction they're going to go. They know what they need. They know what help they have to have. Okay. In addition to that, he's not going to tell you the specifics of some of the medicals on some of these guys and whether or not they will or will not take a player that had opted out of the season. Is it more difficult? Yeah, it's more difficult because, hey, if you took a guy that was in the NFL and didn't play for a year, I mean, that guy's going to have a learning curve coming back, much less a college player. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. COVID affect a lot in a lot of different ways. Okay. But what the crux of all of this comes down to, and we're going to hear more from Gutekunst coming up in the next hour, but what the crux of this comes down to is when the main question is asked about salary cap space, about the ability to get free agents to bolster your team, about the relationship between you and Aaron Rodgers, what Aaron Rodgers is looking for, what do you want to do? Contracts that need to be redone. What is your philosophy? All he kept saying was 2 years. 2 years. 2 years. It's going to be difficult for 2 years. And that's a fact. But there isn't anything that states, you know what, 2 years, over the next 2 years, we really have a lot of salary cap issues. We know we're going to have to get under the cap. We know we're going to have to restructure some deals. And then he didn't say anything about, so we're going to put some guys out 3 years, guys that we believe that can help us, that are going to be here for a while. And again, this is all barring injury. And there's very common things you can say without giving away state secrets. Because again, the giant green flag is probably, if you peel it back, it's red China up there. They're not going to tell you anything. They tell you, why do you think they took all the rights in their own website and their own people cover the Green Bay Packers? They're not going to give you anything they don't want you to know. All the dirt stays behind the curtain. The wizard stays behind the curtain. Everything stays behind the curtain. I mean, I'm sure there's NFL teams, not just the Packers, that thank God COVID hit, because that was their opportunity to kick out all the media. Nobody's knowing anything. We are going on lockdown. Our information's on lockdown. Nothing's happening unless your agent tells somebody. And that's it. It's all on lockdown. So he's not going to give you a lot of information, but it's what they're not saying that is the loudest. It's what they're not saying that speaks the loudest. And that is that they're not saying we want a relationship with Aaron Rodgers past 2 years. Aaron Rodgers is not saying we don't have a relationship, so I'm not going to be back after 2 years. No side is saying, hey, we really want to be here. Aaron Rodgers has always said, I want to retire a Green Bay Packer, but now we're down to the beautiful mystery comments. He's had some infamous ones over the years, the RELAX, which is the most. Now we've got a beautiful mystery to talk about. When it comes to your lifetime contract with the Green Bay Packers and retiring a Green Bay Packer, what is the stupidest thing you can say? I'll take that answer for 200 there, Aaron. What is a beautiful mystery? Yes, because you have the power. Of course he has the power. So coming back in the next hour, we're going to hear more from Brian Gutekunst. We're going to start to get a lot of your phone calls as well and a lot of your reaction to this. I'm going to start to take a lot of the Bud Light live stream, the feed over there. And I'm also going to take your emails and such. I want to get your reaction to what you've heard so far. And I'm going to back off of my opinion, and I want to know what your opinion is of what you've heard out of the general manager of your Green Bay Packers. Okay? Of things that have been stated. I want to get your thoughts on this. Coming up about an hour from now, Andy Herman of the Pack-A-Day podcast is going to get his thoughts on all of this as well. He sat in on that conference yesterday. We'll get his thoughts as to what he heard and how he's taken it. So stick around. Stay tuned. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. We've got 3 hours yet to go, as a matter of fact. Coming up right after this.
is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Last night saw the Miami Marlins get Brewers pitcher Corbin Burnes. Yes, even he is not immune to having an off night. Burnes, who allowed just 8 hits and 1 run while striking out 40 batters over his first 5 starts, was tagged for 5 runs, 4 earned over 5 innings of work, sending his ERA to .37 to 1.53 and 2-2 on the year. The Brewers are back at it this evening, Game 2 against the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:40 from American Family Field. To the NFL, the draft this Thursday night, and Packers GM Brian Gutey met with the media yesterday, but the majority of questions centered on the contract of Aaron Rodgers and if he was the long-term quarterback for the Packers.
We're really excited about Aaron Rodgers and his future with the Green Bay Packers. We think he's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future, and I think that obviously every year there's different things you go through to kind of get to the season, and I think we're going through those right now, whether it be contractually, whether it be working with our players on other things, and that's where we are.
Rodgers is still under contract, and the NFL's draft is 2 nights away.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Does Wisconsin. That's Wisconsin. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Spring practice continues on for the Wisconsin football team, and Jim Leonard likes how his defense is coming around.
We have some dynamic playmakers. We've done a great job recruiting to what this scheme is and fitting guys in, I guess, to where those positions are that you can kind of isolate the most dynamic guys. I think that's what I'm most proud of and happy with the coaching staff as far as how we've been able to get that done.
For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome one, welcome all. The Bill Michaels Show on the air and in all of our networks now, our network affiliates. We certainly appreciate you hanging out with us today. In the first hour of the show, we went over the highlights of what Brian Gutey had to say, the Green Bay Packers general manager, and talking about how, Aaron's our quarterback for the foreseeable future. And I had stated in the first hour, and I'll kind of give it to you this way, that that'd be like your girlfriend coming to you and saying, "Am I your girlfriend?" And you go, "Of course you're my girlfriend. For now." That's the way it is. Now, if there's some kind of a detrimental injury, yeah, of course, you start looking in another direction. But the way things stand right now, a guy coming off of an MVP season, a guy that has stated that he would like to remain a Green Bay Packer for the remainder of his career, of course there's issues. Right? And throughout the entire presser, Brian Gutey over and over and over and over again talked about 2 years. He never talked about anything beyond that. Now, they do have salary cap ramifications they have to worry about. Yes, you are true. But it's neither side. Gutey right out of the chute. He could have diffused all of this. He could have come out and said, "You know what? I know there's been a lot of talk about Aaron Rodgers and restructuring his deal. Aaron's our guy. We want to see Aaron here for as long as he's willing to play here, as long as he can play here. We know we have Jordan Love waiting in the wings, but when you've got an MVP, caliber quarterback, a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, you don't shove him out the door. You figure things out. So we want to win a Super Bowl. We want to win a Super Bowl with our Hall of Fame quarterback. That's what you say. Okay? Even if it's crap behind the scenes, that's what you say. And Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, doesn't throw out the beautiful mystery, and he doesn't have to be the California cool, smartest guy in the room. He can just simply say, "You know what? I want to stay in Green Bay. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I want to stay in Green Bay. And I want to work out whatever is best for the team. Granted, I want to make money like everybody else wants to make money. I think my talents should be rewarded. But I want to win a championship. If that means taking a little bit less to do so, I'll do it. If that means that I need to contribute somewhere else to get another piece on this team, I'll be the ultimate team player. I'm the leader. I'll be that guy." He's not saying that either. So for as much as people want to get pissed off at Brian Gutekunst, you can be pissed off at Aaron Rodgers too, because the beautiful mystery, RELAX, it's a steaming pant load. It's out of my control. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is just, it's kind of like you've got two barns. This is what you got. You got two barns. On the left, Aaron Rodgers. It's a barn that's got sunshine and fields, and he's really happy cows. Okay? But around the cows is a lot of cow crap. And then you got the Green Bay Packers, who have this huge barn. Paid for by the people, by the way. Huge barn. And that barn is got barbed wire fence around it. Nobody's getting into that barn. But it's the people's barn, right? So it's got barbed wire fencing around it. It's got guys up in the turrets with machine guns. In case a cow tries to escape, they may blast that thing and have it for dinner. Who knows? But what they're doing, there's one open gate between the two properties, and they're just shoveling the crap back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's what they're doing. All right, that's my opinion. Because it starts there. You can't get more money to sign even your draft choices unless you either redo Devontae Adams' contract and extend him, make a couple of different moves, or the big giant fish, the giant 10,000-pound pink elephant standing next to you in the room, restructuring and extending Aaron Rodgers. That gets you the most money and the most relief. Not just this year, but probably in 2 years. Okay, so what do you do? That's it. Is that a good description? Because if I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong. Ben says another sad thing about Jordan Love is he doesn't even sniff the top 5 as far as quarterbacks go this year. Definitely was not a first-round talent last year. Eric says the point about Rodgers having no control is correct. Rodgers does have some of the control, and if he took the road like Brady and was willing to give some of the money back for a free agent to help, it would greatly help the Green Bay Packers towards winning another Super Bowl. And think about it this way. If he would come out and say, I'll do whatever, I want to be the team leader, here we go. If he would do that, some will look at it as, well, Aaron Rodgers blinked. In the game of chicken, he blinked, and he gave up his power. No, I look at it as just the opposite. He's the ultimate leader. He's made more money than God. Okay, money's not an object at this point. It's not like he's sitting there going, you know what? Danica and I bought that $26 million home. And I think Danica's going to get some of that. I don't know. I don't know if it was me. I don't know if it was her. But she may get, about $13 million of that. Oh, my goodness. Holy crap. That means I might have to play an extra 2 games. Think about it. For the way games are paid out, think about it. It's kind of an extra 2 games, right? Okay. There you go. Play a couple extra games, and you just paid off the Malibu mansion. It's not like you don't have the cash. So, anyway, that's my take. He does have the power. Eric says people like to kiss Aaron Rodgers' backside and the stars in general. At least Bill makes his point, and the point about Rodgers not being in control is BS, no doubt. This one's from Arthur, who says, great points. I did not hear Gutekunst once say he wanted Aaron Rodgers around, and what the hell does a foreseeable future mean? Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. Foreseeable. Foreseeable. Honey, I think I'm going to pay the household bills for the foreseeable future. What? Of course I'm going to marry you in the foreseeable future. Right? Tell your girlfriend that. I would like a ring and I want to get married. I've been dreaming of this wedding and a princess ever since I was a little girl, and I'm walking around with a towel on my head and, you want that? Oh, you want a beautiful wedding. You want to ride up in a horse-drawn carriage? We'll do that in the foreseeable future. Pow! I swear to God to you. And you're speaking because you don't have any front teeth and you're lisping quite poorly. You know? Oh, gosh. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I will say, it is nice that they have these kind of press conferences for us to decipher a little bit, because it does give shows like mine reason to wake up in the morning. I'm just being honest. When I heard that, I went, there you go. There you go. Put that on a t-shirt. Anything you say, this is one of those, you know how you see those things on Facebook all the time that will say, hey, the name of your street is your last name and your first name of your pet, you know? So, okay, great. Well, now I can see t-shirts out there just saying, whatever you got going on today, whatever errand you have to run, after you say that errand, put behind it in the foreseeable future. See what that gets you. Hey, boss, you know, you work at a bank. Hey, boss, you know what? No problem. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to give an audit to the bank and make sure that all the money is accounted for 100% in the foreseeable future. Son, you're fired. You're fired. Oh, you got all those groceries? Yeah, I'll check you out over here in the foreseeable future. Just do that the rest of the day. Just walk around to your friends and just use that. Use that comment. I think that's fantastic. Give me the best. Sure. Think about the poor guy that him and his wife haven't really, you know, conjuncticated, you know, in a while, if you know what I mean. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. God, I miss you. I miss you too. Oh, I am going to rip your clothes off in the foreseeable future. Honey, I think the dog needs to go out. I'll take him out. No problem. In the foreseeable future. Right there on your floor. You're cleaning that mess up. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. There you go. That's a great way to go. That's a great way to look at it. 100%. Yep. Mark writes, why can't Aaron Rodgers just speak the truth? He always wants to see his guys stick around, but yet he's taking the majority of the money. I blame this more on Rodgers than I do on Packers management. If Rodgers would just come out and say, this is what I want, this is where I want to be, and this is what I'll take to get there, then the Packers would have no choice but to sign him for that amount. Why do they do everything behind closed doors when we know that Aaron Rodgers just wants the money? Yes, he wants to win, but he wants to win on his terms with his amount of money, and that's it. He's earned that right. I'll give him that. But you can't claim to be the team player if you're all about the I. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. This is from Mark. He says, I own a paving company here in Sheboygan. He said, I had to be laughing out loud when I told my customer only moments ago, we'd be glad to go ahead and pave your driveway. We'll get it on the schedule in the foreseeable future. The customer literally said, what? Question mark with quotations around it. I said, only kidding. I was listening to Bill Michaels talk about Brian Gutekunst in the foreseeable future. So there you go. That's awesome. Mark, that made my day, man. That's a terrific email. I love that. 877-867-1670. When we come back, we'll hear more from Brian Gutekunst, the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. Stay tuned. We got more coming up right after this in the foreseeable future.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. The Bill Michaels Show continues on. This is 2 terrific comments. This one is from Jacob, who said, that's funny. I would love to use the saying at work. Hey, boss, I would love to say I'm going to clean the bathrooms in the foreseeable future. And then this one comes from Juicy. Says, do you think Gutey is just forgetting to put Rogers' extension in the form of a question? Juicy. Oh, what is Aaron Rodgers' contract extension? If indeed it's coming anytime soon. There you go. So Brian Gutey, getting back to some of his comments when he was speaking to the media, he was asked, does he know the number of players and coaches that have already had the COVID vaccine?
A little bit. I'll be honest with you. I couldn't tell you numbers or anything like that. I know a number of people here have gotten vaccinated, and we certainly are encouraging, our staff to do so. I don't know. I can't give you any numbers because I don't know that, but it's certainly been a topic of conversation. I'm sure throughout workplaces, it certainly has been here. And I know that a number of guys have gotten that. I know I have. And it'll be interesting as our players come back. We're certainly encouraging them as well. So we'll see. But I don't have any numbers for you.
Then the question was, when it comes to, Brian Gutekunst answering more and more, have the Packers, or have they done anything with the 5th-year option on cornerback Jair Alexander yet?
We haven't, but I certainly would expect us to do so.
That's it. We haven't, but I would expect us to do so. That's it. There was nothing more to it than that. That's it. Yep, we'll do something. We'll do something. Yeah, sure. What the heck? Yeah, we'll probably do it. He was also asked what position does he think is the deepest in the draft this year?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. We self-scout, we'd like to take, usually that month of May and June and really spend some time, not just on the previous year, but we'll go back, 3, 10, 15 years at times in drafts and just kind of look at a lot of different things, not only how us as the Green Bay Packers have operated and how our boards have held up, against time, but then also just the trends in the National Football League. The game does change a little bit. There's part of it, the blocking, the tackling, the physicality of it that always stays the same. But I do think the game does change, and you're always looking to see if how that affects our organization and our football team. Also, just where we play and the weather that we play outdoors and the the division we play in, and there's just you look at a lot of different things, and you take all that into account. Just try to get better.
That was Gutey talking about.
I don't know if I see one particular, that's the deepest. I thought there was, pretty good depth at the offensive line group. I thought there's some good players in the secondary. I like that depth there, but I didn't think there was one overwhelmingly deep position like some years there have been.
So then the question came up about Kevin King, and we all know that Kevin King was the lightning rod coming out of the NFC Championship game. And Brian Gutekunst was asked, why did he decide to bring King back on a 1-year deal after that performance in the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, I think I think I talked a little bit about it the last time I talked, but I think that certainly as we finished the 2020 season heading into this offseason, that wasn't something that I thought was going to be a great possibility to bring Kevin back. But as kind of the pandemic affected the market a little bit, I think we were able, to get him back, and I was super pleased with it. I mean, he obviously Kevin's had his ups and downs with his injury history here, but he's played a lot of good ball for us, and we're better with him on the field than we would be without him.
So he says they're better, and you know what? When he's healthy, you can probably go along with that. When he's healthy. Kevin King has been good. So, one of the questions was when it comes to guys that have been undersized and guys that are really fast, the Packers have kind of shied away from that. They want the bigger, stronger guys. So why do they shy away from the undersized guys that are fast?
Yeah, I think it's because Ron and Ted pounded into all of our brains for being trained that wasn't allowed. No, and also I think I do think that you have to kind of decide kind of what football team and how you want to look and how you want to be. And I think up here in Green Bay and our weather conditions and stuff that we've always tended to lean around bigger, more physical players. If you're playing in a dome or down south, those guys that are smaller, quicker with speed, I think that lasts during the season a little bit longer than if you're up here and the durability factors. So I think that's part of it. I know that all of us that were trained under Ron and Ted, that's a hard thing to get over. But I do think if the right player is there, Jair was very, very close to our Mendoza line, which sometimes drops a little bit depending on how good of a player you are. So we certainly will consider those players, but I do think that which is kind of part of the way we're all trained.
Thank God they took Jair, right? He was also asked, speaking of injuries, how's left tackle David Bakhtiari doing?
Yeah, I think, I haven't seen Dave in probably about 3 weeks to a month, but I know all the reports are fantastic. I know when he left here, he was way ahead of schedule, and we're certainly, we have a lot of confidence in David and the way he takes care of his body, the way he works, how important it is to him, what a professional he is, that he's going to be on target with all that stuff. At the same time, he's such an important part of our football team that we will be, that's a very important part of what we're trying to do. So I don't think it'll impact this particular draft, but he's obviously an impactful person. So not having him out there will certainly, isn't good for us. So we're gonna make sure we do the right thing as we go through his rehab and protect him a little bit from himself, because he's a grinder and he's going to push himself as hard as he can to get back. But everything that I've heard is positive.
The good news is, if you counted there at the beginning of that statement, was that he was ahead of schedule. So, I don't think, we were kind of thinking October, maybe November, but, who knows? Maybe he comes back a little bit early. I don't think he's going to be ready for training camp, but would you be shocked? Would Brian Gutekunst be shocked if he was ready by the season opener?
Nothing would shock me with him. He's a unique individual. He's different than most, just with how he attacks things, his mentality. And so nothing would shock me with David.
So, Coach, LaFleur has got his stuff done. Gutey has his stuff done. Murphy has his stuff done. So what is left to be done this week now that you're leading up to draft day?
Yeah, I think there's always some kind of final tweaks as we go through these next few days, but not many.
Test. 1, 2, 3.
But but I do think that it's a lot of logistic stuff more than anything. But there's always some final information, some final conversations that take place that can tweak some things, but not drastically.
Sound like Tom Silverstein of the Journal Sentinel chiming in there when he was listening to Brian Gutekunst's presser. So anyway, he was asked, is it important for him to include the new defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, into the discussion before selecting defensive players in the draft?
Yeah, no, I think it's those things are vitally important, and those conversations, especially between Matt and I, happen a lot as we go through this process. I think we've always strived here to try to acquire as many versatile players that could fit any system, because things do change and everything is so multiple now that you have to have guys that can do a lot of things, specifically with injuries and stuff. I think if you get too scheme specific, you can get in a bad spot as the season wears along. So, but I do think those conversations are very important. And again, I'm excited about Joe and what he's going to bring to the table. And I think he likes our group, and we'll certainly try to add to it this weekend.
And then you look for the progress. Year number 2 out of the guys were actually a part of the draft class from last year. So how much of a wild card is it to start relying on some of the guys you picked up last season?
Yeah, I thought the guys last year that had opportunities last year really did well in what was presented to them. I think the interesting thing, we've been very healthy the last 2 years we haven't had to really press a lot of the younger guys into duty. So, but when they did, whether it was, Johnny Runyon early on and through the year, or whether it was DeGuara right at the start of the season before he got injured, certainly AJ Dillon, when he got his opportunity to shine, he did so. But, Vernon Scott, there's a bunch of guys, even some undrafted guys. Henry Black did some really, really good things, and Chris Barnes. So, yeah, no, I think, we've talked a lot about the progression that it takes to become an NFL player. And that jump between year 1 and 2 and year 2 and 3 is really important. I think the thing that I like best about last year's class is really the people. They are workers. They're humble, unselfish teammates. And I think, that all those guys got pretty bright futures.
Then he was also asked, look, and I've said this before, if it comes down to 2 guys you rate equally and you're on the clock, do you then follow the Ted Thompson rule, who says you take the player that fills the need?
I think, Ted's right. I think need really does play a bigger part when you kind of have equal valued players and you're trying to decide. But at the same time, I don't know if it's necessarily evolved, but I think it's the state of your football team and what you feel you have. There are times, and I don't know if I've really been in that situation very often, but there are times where you feel like to play a game that week or, coming up, you don't feel like you could do it because you're missing a certain piece. I think we're fortunate that we don't feel that way right now. We feel we could go play. We have a very good football team coming back, which gives me a little more freedom, I think, as we attack the board to go with the best player. But I think at the same time, I think, for me, the one thing that if we have a chance to move up to take a specific player that we feel is special, I think you have to always, consider that. And I think we have since I've been, kind of the last 3 years. I think we've done that, and we will always kind of do that. There's only so many game-changing type players in this league. And if you have the opportunity to acquire one, I think you have to consider it.
So then last but not least, he was asked, look, your first draft class 3 years ago. And, the question is, so what have you learned about being a general manager from 3 years ago along the way to today?
I think I'd like to think we've constantly evolved and technology has become a little bit more part of it. I think there's just a confidence I think you take from going, multiple drafts and understanding how it's going to play out. And until you kind of sit in that chair the first time, even though I had been in draft rooms, dozens of times, it's different when, the entire room's looking at you to make the decision. So I think there's a comfort level after you've done it a few years and moving up and down the board and making trades where you just, it just puts you at ease. So I think that's part of it. I think our group as a whole has kind of, just we've all been together for a while now. And I think that experience really pays off.
So there you go. That was Brian Gutekunst, beginning to end, from the last hour till now. Some of the comments that he made yesterday regarding the NFL draft, regarding the contract situation, regarding Aaron Rodgers, regarding some of the guys that are upcoming, all of it. And I want to get your reaction to all of it when we come back. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Your thoughts as the Green Bay Packers. You've heard now from Brian Gutekunst all the different philosophies he has, talked about salary cap, talked about Jordan Love, talked about Aaron Rodgers, talked about Jair Alexander, talked about all the different restructure deals, some of the injuries, philosophy. Do you feel good about where the Green Bay Packers are right now and the direction that they are headed? You can break down every word, but overall, do you feel good about the Green Bay Packers where they are and the direction where they are headed? 877-867-1670. Got more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gina Della from Pella, don't you just love fresh air and sunshine? It's so stimulating.
Absolutely. You know, Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin is in the fresh air and sunshine business.
Since when?
Since forever.
Seriously?
Think about it. By upgrading with Pella replacement windows, you can let the sun shine in as much as you want with blinds and shades between the glass.
And Pella's available roll screen lets you get a breath of fresh air when you need one. Then it rolls away out of sight when you don't.
Very stimulating.
Hey, wouldn't it be smart to use the latest stimulus check or your tax refund to invest in energy-efficient Pella windows and doors?
That's a great idea, especially now. Order by April 30th and get 6-year no-interest financing.
Pella now, pay later. Now that's a stimulating breath of fresh air.
Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or 855-PELLA-WI.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. We continue on, and glad you are here today on this Tuesday, talking about some of the comments of Brian Gutekunst, the Packers general manager, as he discusses, philosophically speaking, some of the ideas going into the draft. Talks a little bit about Aaron Rodgers, and it's funny because one of the comments that was stated was from Gary, who says, so you're finally figuring out that these GM press conferences are a total waste of time, as nothing substantive is ever said. And my argument is it's not a waste of time, because what is not said most of the time speaks louder than what is said. Right? You with me on that? It's not what's said. Sometimes it's what's not said. When there's a direct question and when the question is not specifically answered, it's what's not said. So I had posted on Facebook, I posted on Twitter. You can chime in on both, or you can give us a call. I said, after hearing from Green Bay Packers GM Brian Gutekunst, how do you feel about where the franchise is at? And do you feel good about where they are headed? And Tad Lippy says, over on Facebook, says, very little faith right now in Smithers and Mr. Burnes. The shot at both Brian Gutekunst and I would assume Mark Murphy or Matt LaFleur, one of the two. Back to Blue Forevers over on Twitter says, confident on a division title, a win in the playoffs, then getting bounced. AJ says, I feel no different than before he spoke. The Packers are going to be in the mix to get to a Super Bowl and have big cap issues for 2022. Hope they kill it in the draft. Nick says, on the positive side, at least we actually have a general manager's comments to parse and discuss and compare rather than the previous GM. That you are true. That because Ted was, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, could be. Somebody turn the lights on. So anyway. Rest his soul, though. I shouldn't give Ted kind of grief, but I do. Jacob says, honestly, I'm not sure if we're in good shape, or I still think we need to get Aaron Rodgers another receiver. I still think we need a couple of offensive linemen. And I think a linebacker along the way should be interesting to see what they do in the draft. 877-867-1670. Let's go to our buddy Daniel listening to us in Toma. Daniel, welcome to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. What's up? Daniel dropped off. 3, 2, 1. He gone. Hey, if you are trying to call the program, maybe you're a little distracted because you open the window to see the weather, and the weather is nice outside. At least where I'm at, it's sitting at 72 degrees right now. I'm giddy. And that's because I got the windows open and the roll screens open and all that kind of good stuff over on my Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. I am letting the fresh air in. As a matter of fact, the roll screen is down, not open, but it's down, so I can open the window. The window is wide open. But if you want to think about it, you can upgrade right now with Pella of Wisconsin. You can let the sunshine in, the outdoor air in, whatever it is you want. They have blinds between the and shades between the glass. They have the integrated roll screen. You can let in a breath of fresh air anytime you need it. And then it rolls right out of the way and out of sight when you don't need it. And speaking of stimulation, whether it's a stimulation check or your tax refund check, look, if you want to put that money to work for you, add value to your home, especially right now in the hot sellers market, big time. It'll actually pay you back in the long run. And the best part about it is they can pay you to do it. Pella's 6-year no-interest financing. Pella now and pay later, as they say. Now that is a stimulating breath of fresh air if you're opening the windows today. And they still have virtual appointments if you feel comfortable. But if you do feel even more comfortable and you want an appointment, whether it's at the showroom or the experience center or in your home, they can do that as well. But it's all at one place, PellaWI.com/radio. That is Pella, P-E-L-L-A, PellaWI.com/radio, or it's a simple phone number, 855-PELLA-WI, 855-PELLA-WI.com. Again, 855-PELLA-WI.com, and go say hi to our good girl over there, Gina Della from Pella, and making the world a brighter and fresher and more airy place along the way. There you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. This one is from Jacob, who says, I don't feel any better about the organization after listening to Brian Gutekunst speak. I want to see what he does in the draft, and then I will let you know. But as of right now, I don't feel good about the situation between the organization and Aaron Rodgers. Neither side seems to be budging, and neither side wants to say anything publicly to either give away their feelings or emotions or upset the other. Everybody is walking on eggshells right now. The rest of the world pontificates about what Rodgers should or shouldn't do. I was watching The Undisputed. Let me stop you right there. The fact that, look, I understand you want to watch Fox. That's great. But The Undisputed, Skip and Shannon, I'd rather go out and slam an appendage in a car door. Okay, but to each his own. They were arguing about whether or not Rodgers should be leaving Green Bay, and they both agree, actually, that Rodgers needs to leave Green Bay because the Packers organization is not doing him any favors, whether it's with his contract or others around him. When do you think they're going to get Devontae Adams done and Jair Alexander done? Well, they talked about Jair, that they're going to work on that 5th-year option. My thought is they're probably going to give him a contract extension. And when it comes to Devontae Adams, you better bet your sweet patootie that they're going to get something done with him. But now the question can become, if I'm Devontae Adams, what do I want to do? If Aaron Rodgers is only going to be there a couple of years, do I want to sign for 3, 4, 5? Look, if Aaron Rodgers is there 2 years, you don't know what your career is going to be like in 2 years. You could shatter a knee. You don't know. So if they're offering you the money right now, take the money. You know, if it's going to be a worthwhile contract and you still have the ability to catch balls from one of the best to ever do it, then take the money. And then maybe give yourself the ability to get out of it in a couple of years if you choose to do so. You know what I mean? 877-867-1670. Alan says, don't forget, love is a football god. Wait, remember Lynn Dickey. This guy's going to be better. Lynn Dickey was pretty good. Lynn Dickey just had injuries. He had those knees that were bad on him. But Lynn Dickey was one of the best downfield thrower there was. Lynn Dickey was a hell of a quarterback. He just didn't have much of a defense around him, man. He got banged up quite a bit. Jim says that the Packers are going to trade up to select a wide receiver in round 1, and Devontae leaving rumors then go into overdrive. You think so? You think so? Going to go up and that shocked me to see them jump up and get a wide receiver. Okay, it might be a little disappointing, and if indeed that you've got a guy that might be sitting there, like the linebacker out of Notre Dame, or Gutey Pay, the defensive end out of Michigan. You got a couple of different plays, but if that's the guy that you feel is the strongest and really fits your system, and that's the guy you want to go get, then go get him. I wouldn't have it. If you believe that there's another asset out there that can add to either Aaron Rodgers or be a real asset defensively to this team, and you trade up to get him, I applaud you for sticking with your convictions and moving up. That's great. As long as it's not a kicker, punter, or quarterback. I'm good with that. Now, I don't want to see them jump up and, take a running back. You don't need Najee Harris. If you feel he's just that guy, that, well, maybe then you do it, but I can't see them doing that. I can't see that happening. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. Let's do this. We'll step away, take a quick break. Reaction coming in fast and furious to the comments of one Brian Gutekunst, who is the general manager of your Green Bay Packers, and the question still pertains. When you ask the question, do you feel better about what you've heard? How do you feel about the organization now? And how do you feel about the organization moving forward? Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Reaction still pouring into the comments of one Brian Gutekunst. Our buddy Jeff Spicoli, Baby Shaka, says, doesn't matter. They're still not as good as the Bucs, meaning the Buccaneers. This one's from Alan, who says that it's what's not said. You are correct. This team has no commitment to anybody long term, and I don't think they want it that way. Andre says the Packers are who we thought they were. They're a team that is going to do everything they can to keep the salary cap low, bring in some talent, not the best, and then look forward to Jordan Love. No commitment to Aaron Rodgers is a slap in the face to all Hall of Fame quarterbacks that would ever want to come here and play. What would make you think Green Bay would treat you any differently if this is how they've treated Favre and Rodgers in succession? 877-867-1670. Thanks for all the emails and all the reaction. 877-867-1670. I guess, you know what? And you're right. It could be worse, right? It could be worse because San Francisco 49er head coach Kyle Shanahan, when asked specifically about Garoppolo's future, said he can't even guarantee that Garoppolo would still even be alive on Sunday to make the roster. Think about that. Now, I'm not advocating violence, but let's just say there's a mob hit on Garoppolo. I mean, the first guy we're going to look at is Kyle Shanahan, right? I mean, Shanahan's going to look like a freaking genius. I told you, Garoppolo's not even here. He's dead. That's the reason we took a quarterback. He never made it this Sunday. I shouldn't laugh. It's a terrible thing, but, you know, come on, man. All of you with that mock draft, all that crap. Yeah, we traded up. We knew what we were doing. We took Mac Jones with the number 3 overall pick in this year's NFL draft. The San Francisco 49ers select Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama. Then he comes out and he hugs the commissioner. Commissioner, hi, you sure smell nice. Oh, you too, Commissioner. He's got COVID now. He can't play. And then, you know, Saturday night, Garoppolo's got, he's out to dinner. He's by himself in a corner at some restaurant. He's like, oh, God, I can't believe they drafted Mac Jones. Oh, God, I guess I'm not long for this world. And all of a sudden, you hear go by the window. Jimmy Garoppolo, killed with a Philly cheesesteak in his hand. Sunday's press conference, the wrap-up, if you will. Here's Kyle Shanahan. Well, guys, I told you so. Any other questions? No, coach. The last thing in the world you want is Shanahan to go, you know what, I'd answer that question, but hell, you may not be here later on tonight to write about it. Right? Whoa, I'm out, coach. Whatever you say. Ladies and gentlemen, aliens abducted me just before the draft, and I have a probe anally inserted. It's listening to everything we're talking about right now. Coach, we believe you. You predicted Garoppolo. We believe you have an alien anal probe. Yes. You're on the money with that one. How'd you like to be that? So I take anything right now. Having a little bit of a rift with Brian Gutekunst and the Packers organization may not be so bad. We'll see what happens come Sunday. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Want to hear from you. Mark writes, he says, great stuff regarding Shanahan, although I do believe that the Packers are going to get a deal done with Rodgers sooner rather than later. Just look for the rest of the rookies that need to be signed and how much money it's going to take to sign them. And then after June, you're going to see Rodgers renegotiate his deal, adding at least 2 years to it via the compromise. Now, the rumor out there is that Aaron Rodgers, yes, he wants to re-sign. At least the rumor was that he was thinking maybe 3 years, getting 2-3 additional years on that contract when the Packers were only willing to give him like 1. So we'll see. We'll see. You know, Aaron says we need another receiver like a Donald Driver type. You know what? An inside slot guy with sure hands that can take a hit, you had a good guy like that, a good route runner, Alan Lazard. And you have that right now. I mean, I think that you look at Equanimeous St. Brown, and I've said all along, and that going back to when I first saw him come into camp, his rookie season, I said he is kind of a poor man's Donald Driver. Equanimeous St. Brown can be that guy. Same ability, same build, long arms, big hands, can go over the middle. That guy is a poor man's Donald Driver. If he can develop into a rich man's Donald Driver, then so much better. Kinger says, can you confirm there's going to be a Bill Michaels show tomorrow? That's a great question. I don't know. I hope that Kyle Shanahan did not hold a press conference about me. Just saying. Just throwing it out there. It can happen. You never know. 877-867-1670, 867-1670, or 877-867-1670. Hit us up. I will get into the Orlando Tucker discussion a little bit. Just that it was reported about an hour ago that it looks like Orlando Tucker, an interim men's basketball assistant head coach with Greg Gard for the last couple of years, not expected to return to the program. Neither Tucker or Gard left messages or returned phone calls, but doesn't look like it's going to happen. He joined the staff just before the 2019 season to fill in for Howard Moore, who, remember, suffered severe injuries in that car accident. And he lost his wife and his daughter. So, but that's all we know right now. So we'll see. Let's do this. We'll step away, take a quick break, come back. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show yet to come. We'll be back right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is the Packers quarterback for the foreseeable future. That's what Packers GM Brian Gutey said yesterday when asked about Rodgers' contract and why they haven't done anything with it this offseason. He is under contract through 2023, but there's no more guaranteed money left on the deal, and he's going to count roughly $37 million against the salary cap this season. With the Packers up against the salary cap this year and next, Gutey says Rodgers' contract and others will need to be addressed.
I don't really get into too many details about conversations with players, contract negotiations with players. But again, like I said earlier, I think it's very important for us to work through the next 2 years to get this salary cap thing right. We will have to address many contracts over the next 4 or 5 months to get under the cap for the season. And that's certainly one where we will probably address that as well.
Gutey also said that David Bakhtiari's recovery from a torn ACL is way ahead of schedule. Left tackle was hurt in practice last December. Most think it's a long shot he'd be ready for the season, but Gutey said nothing would shock him when it comes to Bakhtiari. Gutey and the Packers putting the finishing touches on their draft board as the first round gets underway Thursday in Cleveland. Meanwhile, the Wisconsin football team was on the practice field this morning. They've got 2 practices left this spring.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You're grateful for all the ways technology can connect us. Unfortunately, there are online scammers who want to take advantage. Malicious viruses, phishing scams, and identity theft are more prevalent than ever. That's why Rural Mutual includes cybersecurity protection as an option on every policy.
Keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers were shut 8-0 by the Marlins last night. Corbin Burnes gave up 5 runs, 4 earned in 5 innings of work. They'll face Miami again tonight. First pitch set for 6:40. And the Bucks are in Charlotte. It's where they'll take on the Hornets tonight. Tip there is at 6. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome back to the program, and we are glad you are with us today. Thanks to everybody for chiming in, and for so many of you. And I'm going to deviate away from some of your reaction here, as we're going to dip a little bit more into the depths of what Brian Gutekunst had to say yesterday. But I want to go. Let's do this. Let's just bring him in now from the Pack-A-Day podcast. You've got our good friend Andy Herman now joining us on the hotline. Andy, how you doing, man?
Bill, it's been too long. Thanks so much for having me. I always love to talk.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you're here. So you tell me what you thought of. We'll start out with what Brian Gutekunst had to say about Aaron Rodgers, saying in the foreseeable future.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, yesterday was exactly what I would have expected. And to me, it's going to continue to be, he's our guy. It's the foreseeable future. And listen, this is NFL draft week. It's so much more fun to talk about prospects and stuff. But no matter what happens this offseason, who they draft first overall, what they did in free agency, re-signing Aaron Jones, all of it pales in comparison to what happens long-term with Aaron Rodgers. So that's why this is such an important question and why it's such a huge discussion point. I've been on the same kind of wavelength all offseason with this. To me, I don't know how Green Bay could possibly know at this point that there is a date or a time that they want to move, forward with Jordan Love. And even if he killed it in practice every single day last year, until you see him do it at least in a preseason game, like he was the number 3 guy. He never even beat out Tim Boyle for the number 2. I just don't know how they could have any sort of confidence, even though they spent a first-round pick and moved up, that he at some point is going to be able to take over for the MVP of the league and Aaron Rodgers. However, the statement that they basically made up until this point with not renegotiating Rodgers or making any changes to his contract is that while they don't maybe know that time or that date or if and when it's going to happen, they absolutely want to be able to keep that option open. And that, to me, until they do something with that contract and until they put guaranteed money that shows that he's going to be on this team 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, it'll continue to remain a question because, we've seen GMs over the years consistently and constantly say, this is our guy, and then he's gone a year later. I mean, I think Josh Rosen was talked, and I think Josh Rosen and Aaron Rodgers are a little bit different situations here, but Josh Rosen was literally talked about as their guy, and then like a month later, they drafted Kyler Murray. So these things happen, and that's why there'll continue to be a question that comes up, and I don't think anything that was said yesterday in the press conference changes that until something changes with the contract.
So here's my philosophy on this. What Brian Gutekunst, it's somebody said, well, you never get anything out of general manager presser prior to the draft, blah, blah, blah. And I said, a lot of times it's what's not said. He did not talk at all about more than 2 years down the road. And we all know what 2 years means. And that's when the lowest cap hit possible becomes relevant for Aaron Rodgers, the way it stands right now. So he did not say, Aaron's our guy. We want him to retire a Green Bay Packer. We want to win a couple more championships with him. We know his desire to be here. We want to work it out with him. And Aaron Rodgers, who says it's a beautiful mystery and I don't know, and it's not in my hands, which we all know is crap because all he's got to say is, I want to retire a Packer. I'll take less to get more talent around me. Let's go win this damn thing. I want to win at least 2 more championships as a Green Bay Packer quarterback before I retire. Neither side is making the commitment to do so. That speaks louder to me than what is actually said. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think definitely that first part where, the Packers not saying that they specifically want to keep him, long-term or have him retire a Packer. I think that's a really good point that they don't want to do that. For Rodgers, I think it's always I think it's always a little bit difficult to ask players to take pay cuts, especially at this point in their career and things like that. I know Brady did it, but that's more of an outlier. But I mean, overall, I think both sides could have probably handled things better up until this point. But this ultimately is my biggest critique, from the draft pick a season ago. It's not Jordan Love, the player. It's not that I don't get the fact that quarterback is the most important position in all of sports, and having two of them is probably better than one. It's just, it consistently and constantly opens up Pandora's box, where if both of these players are on the same team simultaneously, there will always be a question of, well, if Aaron Rodgers is on the team, what does that mean for Jordan Love? If Jordan Love is on the team, what does that mean for Aaron Rodgers? And we saw it work out, obviously, with Green Bay and Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, but nobody's going to forget the pain points that happened along the way to get to the point of actually moving forward with Aaron Rodgers. And even when they went in that direction, they still hedged their bets by picking Brian Brown with a second-round pick. So these things are going to be painful as long as both players are on the team, and these questions are going to continue to come up. And I thought for the most part, Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst have done a good job of handling the questions up until this point. I think the only time they did it was when Mark Murphy kind of had the no comment situation when he was talking about the scheduling. But other than that, they've basically been on the same page. But this is just one of those things that you have to consistently stay on top of the messaging, because it's going to be the question that keeps coming up over and over again.
So we'll get out of the Rodgers side of things. Brian Gutekunst made the point in saying we've done a great job in re-signing free agents. And to the most part, I can give him some credit. I mean, bringing back Aaron Jones is a little bit surprising to, I think, a lot of people. You do lose Corey Linsley. You hear that Bakhtiari's on the fast track to come back, which makes you feel good about not the necessity of getting yourself another offensive lineman. So give me the offseason before we get to the draft, give me the offseason progress of this team in your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did a really nice job to kind of mostly stay status quo. However, I think you can make an argument that the players that were, that made it to the offseason, not Bakhtiari or Kenny Clark, who they wrapped up in season, but of the players that made it to the offseason, I think you can make an argument that Corey Linsley was the best of those and maybe even the most important. Now, they've got guys in-house like Elton Jenkins and Lucas Patrick that can play center, but the offensive line is right now one of the, I don't know if I can say necessarily huge concerns, but the depth along the offensive line was such a huge piece of what made them so successful a season ago, specifically. And losing Rick Wagner, Corey Linsley, and to an extent Wayne Taylor definitely hurts that depth. And right now, if Bakhtiari is not able to go week one, maybe Elton Jenkins plays left tackle, John Runyon Jr. left guard, Lucas Patrick center, Billy Turner right tackle, and then your right guard is Simon Stepaniak, Ben Braden, so you've got definitely some question marks there. So I think that remains a major question mark. I overall like the philosophy of what they did. I don't think there was many free agents that they could have necessarily brought in. At the same token, it just amazes me that you have an entire personnel department set up to find, potential free agents and guys that can help your team. Like, how there's not even one vet minimum free agent that you think, we had a really high draft grade on this guy 3-4 years ago. Maybe he didn't turn out with the team he was on, but we're going to take a flyer on something like this. It's crazy to me that you wouldn't at least, try to unearth some player under some stone somewhere that you had a high grade on at some point. But there's work to do. There's no question about it. And obviously that leads us probably into the draft, which is going to be so important for this team to see improvement because they didn't do anything in free agency.
So, by the way, we're talking with Andy Herman of the Pack a Day podcast. And I guess the next question then becomes, could they have done something had it not been for the problem of salary cap restraints?
Yeah, I definitely think that's a huge part of it. And I think they went out of their normal, realm of what they like to do just to even bring back guys like Aaron Jones and Kevin King and keeping Preston Smith on the roster, keeping up to this point Dean Lowry on the roster. There were a lot of people, myself included, that thought Dean Lowry and Preston Smith were going to be on the way out just to maybe clear some of that space, that Aaron Jones is going to be on the way out. And obviously if they do those things, they're going to have the opportunity to sign other players. At some point, Green Bay said, and it's interesting, I talked with Ben Fennell, who I believe you've had on your show multiple times in the past. I talked with him on the podcast and right after the season was done. And we talked about going back to the draft last year, if Green Bay maybe could have added one more player. And Ben and I both ended up on the same page. This was right as the season ended, right as they lost to Tampa Bay. If we could go back in time, it wouldn't necessarily be a pick or a move that we would change. We would just like to replay that Tampa Bay game because we think, we both kind of thought that It was a team that Green Bay had the opportunity to beat. They played literally their worst game at the worst possible time. And it sounds like kind of Green Bay's in that same boat where it's not necessarily that they felt that they needed to add a player or, a different, personality here or there on the offense or defense. They want another shot at this thing with the guys that they have. I think they had a chance to win it last year. They didn't take advantage of it, and they're going to try to run that back one more time.
First of all, I completely agree with you because people want to look at it and say, well, they just weren't good enough. No, they were good enough. I mean, Aaron Rodgers obviously threw a pick. Aaron Jones fumbled a football. Shannon Sullivan dropped one right in the breadbasket. Equinemius St. Brown dropped a 2-point conversion. And Aaron Rodgers chose to throw it again to Davante Adams rather than either Alan Lazard or to run it at least down to the 1 or the 2 yard line, if not into the end zone. So there was a myriad of errors that could have ended up swinging that game in a different direction. So I completely agree with that. But my question is, you got the Buccaneers who have all of their starters back, and you have lost your all-pro center, your Pro Bowl center in the middle, and Corey Linsley, and your all-pro tackle is still ailing. We don't know when he's going to be back. And you have depleted some of your depth. So if you're not better than what you were that day, chances are in the NFL you're worse, right?
I totally agree with that sentiment as well. And there's a famous tweet I sent out about 3 years ago about the Bears window closing quicker than they thought it was going to, and Bears fans hated me at the time. But my reasoning behind it, and which ultimately ended up being right, was because they didn't have the opportunity to add any players. This was right after the double doink, and they'd spent a ton of money on guys like Khalil Mack. And in the offseason, they lost an Adrian Amos, and they lost a Jordan Howard, and they had lost Bryce Callahan and their defensive coordinator. And Green Bay didn't maybe suffer quite the losses that Chicago did, but Chicago was in a position at that time where they just didn't have resources or draft picks to continue to improve the team. And in this league, if you're not green and growing, you are going to get very bad very fast. So that's why, again, this draft this weekend is going to be so important for Green Bay. I know they love to look at this draft as a future investment. They don't necessarily have the money to be able to bring guys in to help them compete right now. This is probably the time, maybe more than ever, that they have to look at this draft, at least in the top 100, and say, hey, we could really use some guys that could potentially help us out in 2021 if we really are all about getting over this hump now with this group of guys.
So as I sit here today, the Green Bay Packers' needs, maybe in order, are what?
I think offensive line and defensive line start the conversation. We just kind of went over offensive line and the players that they lost. I just think they need an infusion of depth. There's a couple ways to look at it. One, obviously, I mentioned the guys that they lost. On the other hand, if you look over the next 2 seasons, David Bakhtiari is eventually going to be back at that left tackle spot. Billy Turner's going to be slotted in probably at right tackle this year and next year. And you have Elton Jenkins and probably John Runyon Jr. You probably have 4 of those starter spots set both this year and next year. I don't see anything happening to those guys. So, and you have Lucas Patrick this year for that 5th spot. So I don't know that they need like a ton, but they need more depth and they need more competition. And you can always obviously get younger and more talented at that position. Defensive line, I still shudder to think if Kenny Clark is lost for any period of time. I mean, right now you're going with Tyler Lancaster, Dean Lowry, and Kingsley Keke as your main 3 with Willington Prevalon as your top backup. Like they need they need more depth and they need more talent, and Kenny Clark needs some help. And I think you look at that defensive line, not only does Kenny need help, but I think, being able to free him up a little bit more, but it just makes your linebackers better. It makes your pass rushers better. So this defensive line class in the draft is far from great, but if you can find somebody that can help out that group, I still think that's a huge need for this team.
Talking with Andy Herman, the Pack a Day podcast, Pack Report as well, and Green Bay Nation on the hotline. So as I look, defensively speaking, first and foremost, I think this is going to be a really defensive-heavy draft. It would not shock me, though, when you talk about Brian Gutekunst kind of raising an eyebrow by saying, yeah, we could possibly trade up. If they trade up, that's usually to get a specialty player. It's not usually to get a guy in the trenches. Could you see them trading up to get that opposite Davante Adams, considering the fact that there is not one wide receiver signed past this year?
I think wide receiver is a really big option in the first round for them. And I think you just look at what they generate. Younger players, 20, 21 years of age, and athleticism, 80th percentile or better at their specific position. They're looking for those players, and usually they're looking at premium position players. 13 of the last 16 first picks they've had, going back to Ted Thompson's first pick, has been a quarterback, offensive tackle, edge rusher, defensive lineman, or corner. So they usually look at those, but you look at the wide receiver group, I think there's 2 wide receivers that slot right around that 29th pick. Maybe Rashad Bateman's gone. but I think he would potentially make some sense at that spot. And then Terrace Marshall hits all of their metrics. He's super young. He's kind of on the up and coming, played at LSU. I think he kind of fits a lot of the things that they want. Neither of those receivers would surprise me. I don't necessarily see them moving up for either. Devontae Smith would be interesting if he started to fall, if Green Bay wanted to make an aggressive move. I don't see them being that aggressive. So if it is a wide receiver, which I think it very much could be, I don't necessarily see them trading up, but would not shock me if that were the pick in round 1.
What do you, I mean, everybody does a mock draft. Is there somebody or two that you kind of covet that if they would be there at 29 or within a couple of spaces that the Packers could go get? Who are you looking at?
Yeah, there's one that just screams off the page, and this isn't necessarily a unique idea on my end, on a name that's been talked about, but that's in the corner of those premium position players. He fits that. He's in the 90th percentile or above in overall athleticism, which we know they love. He's just about to turn 21 years old only, so again, super young. When you look at the things that they generally look for, especially since Brian Gutekunst has got here, he screams off the page as the type of player that they would like. He obviously fits both the short and long-term need. Now, they have Kevin King and Shannon Sullivan back, but I think Newsom would pressure both of those guys for playing time. I think he has the ability to play outside and in the slot, which would be, again, great competition for both of those players, would obviously provide depth at the position. And then next year, you look at what Josh Jackson and Shannon Sullivan and Kevin King and all those guys are free agents. So, having somebody that could step up potentially and play right alongside Jair would be huge. He's the guy that screams off the page, and they may have to move up to get him. Right now, he's projected more in that 21, 22 range. The Colts are said to be really looking to move down. I think if Greg Newsom's on the board at 21, Green Bay could look to be aggressive in moving in that direction.
Real quick before I let you go, so we know where they stand, anywhere between $2.5 to $3.5 million under the cap. So we know that they don't even have enough money right now to sign the incoming draft class. At what point do you start to see magnanimous moves when it comes to salary cap structure, restructure, extensions, and such? When do you think that begins to happen and transpire?
Yeah, there's going to have to be at least one fairly significant move that takes place prior to the season, just so that you can get all of your draft picks in, just so that you can sign a practice squad. And, I think people forget sometimes when you play somebody on IR, their money stays on the salary cap, and then you have to sign somebody new. So by the end of the year, it's not a 53-man roster that you're paying. It's the 53 that are on your active roster, your 12 or 13 guys that are on IR, and then your 16 guys that are on your practice squad. There's a lot more that goes into it. So just to be able to do the normal things that a football team does during the course of the year, they're going to have to do something to free up more space. That could be Devontae Adams signing an extension. That could be doing something with Aaron Rodgers' contract. But those are probably the two biggest ones that would clear some space, fairly immediately. But I think they're going to have to do one of those sooner rather than later.
Andy, great stuff as always, man. We always appreciate you coming on. We'll break down the draft after the fact, but thanks for joining us for a couple of minutes today, okay?
Can't wait. Thanks for having me, Bill.
Appreciate it, pal. There you go. Andy. want to say thanks to some of our fine sponsors that are going to help us out and take us all over the state of Wisconsin and well beyond the borders. Our friends Joe Martino and the gang from Point Brewing and Cider Boys and such. Go to pointbeer.com, and you talk about a local brewery that's doing some good things. Our friends from Point Brewing, and we just really enjoy how they pair up that Cider Boys beer, the cider beer, with the pizza down at San Giorgio's in downtown Milwaukee. So thanks to them. Also to Sean and the whole crew at Epoxy Flooring Done Right, providing Wisconsin home and business owners epoxy flooring coating services at reasonable prices. I had this thing done in my house and completely redid my gym. It wasn't anywhere near as expensive as I thought it was going to be. And they came in, got it done in a day. I was working out back on it the next day. And they do it from Green Bay to Milwaukee to Madison, everything in between. Go to epoxyflooringdoneright.com. That's epoxyflooringdoneright.com, or give our buddy Sean a call, 262-443-2852. Tell him we sent you. Sean at 262-443-2852. If you've been thinking about this for your driveway, or not for your driveway, but for your garage, like me, I'm going to do it in the garage probably a little bit later this year because I just got the new Harley. I want to make it look nice and all that kind of stuff. So I know it's kind of weird, but I want to get it done. 262-443-2852. Give Sean a call. Good stuff over there. So now you've gotten a different opinion. We talked about this for a while now, about just differing opinions from inside the area, outside the area on all of this. I think the consensus, if I can go ahead and discuss this, when it comes to the consensus, okay? The consensus is, now I'll see if you agree with me or not. When it comes to the Packers and Aaron Rodgers and the contract and the salary cap situation, okay? I think the consensus is this. It's going to get done. It's going to get done. The Packers may not like it. Rodgers may not like it, but the two sides are eventually going to come together. And they're going to get a deal done. And then it'll give us another year or two to kind of breathe easy, not talk about it, allow Jordan Love to figure out if he's going to be good or not. And that way the Packers hedge their bets a little bit before making another commitment to a 38, 39, 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. It's now the second part of this is how much goes under the bridge. And by that, I mean, how many bad feelings are going to be washed downriver by this? If it's water under the bridge, don't worry about it. But if it starts to dam up and bad feelings start to become more and more supreme, bad feelings, obstinance, egos, they can prevent you from doing a deal, not for any other reason than the old just because. Just because. You know? So I believe a deal is still in the offing. I think after listening to Brian Gutekunst, he's got 3, 4, 5 deals they want to do. They don't want to push too much money down the road. I get it. Okay, because in 2 years, you're going to be really viable as a football team. You're going to have a lot of options. You don't want to add to that salary cap right now. You want to do what you can to get through the next 2 years and then figure it out. However, the caveat to this is you've got Aaron Rodgers in his prime right now. You got to do the extra little thing or two, because as much as you want to keep your team, quote, viable, which basically means let's get above 500 and get to the postseason. Well, you and me and every other Packers fan out there, that's great. Yay, you win the division. Who cares? This is not about winning a division anymore. It's about getting past the damn NFC Championship game. So when do you put enough money back on the table to get past it and give yourself legitimately one more piece, one more opportunity, one more guy to just get a little bit of elevation to get you over the hump? When do you get there? When do you push that chip to the middle of the table? I think the Packers are going to be viable for a long time, with or without Jordan Love. I think Matt LaFleur is a hell of a head coach. I think offensively he's pretty smart. He likes to be innovative. He likes to stay ahead of the curve. He likes to do a lot of things that makes a quarterback think. Here's the other thing. When you think about Matt LaFleur's offense, it's not easy. You can just go run the play, but it's also predicated upon reads. So if you got a quarterback that just doesn't get it all, he may not be making the right reads. It doesn't matter who you throw under center. So as good as I think Matt LaFleur is as a play caller, I also think that there's a lot of, quote, smarts out there in the form of Aaron Rodgers that makes it look that much better. So you have to ask yourself, not only does Jordan Love have the physical talent to play in the NFL, I think he does, but does he have the smarts to absorb it, understand it, and become a savant at it? Because if you're not sure, and you would say right now, no, I don't think so. Well, then you had better hang on to the quarterback that you have, because you know he is. And even if his talents, and I'm talking about physical talents, decline somewhat, Tom Brady last year, Peyton Manning a few years back, they have proven that if you give them additional talent, the smarts will win you a championship. It's not the physical talent, because Peyton Manning had not much to do other than being a leader on that team with the Denver Broncos winning a championship. That was the defense, and the offense sustained the defense. Tom Brady didn't play lights out. He wasn't the golden boy, but he was a leader, and he did enough to support a defense that chased Patrick Mahomes all over the damn field. So you stick with the veteran and the knowledge, unless, of course, you got the guy waiting in the wings. And so that's why I believe the Packers and Rodgers, if Rodgers won 3 years, the Packers want 1 year, they're going to come together on 2. And maybe you give them a little bit more money to make them happy. But again, I would rather hear at this point in time, and I know Andy Herman says, look, there's not many quarterbacks that are going to step up like Tom Brady did and say, hey, you know what? I'll take less or just take very little to go ahead and still be the quarterback here just because I want to win. It's the outlier. He's right. It's the outlier. But wouldn't you like to see Aaron Rodgers become part of the outlier? It doesn't guarantee a championship, but it certainly hedges your bets. I'm not saying he has to go from making $37 million down to 15. But if Aaron would say, you know what, let's do this. Let's work it out to where my salary counts maybe 15, but the bonuses that you can pay me that won't count against the actual salary cap, the forward money, whatever you want to call it, then we can go ahead and transfer that into some money you just pay me right now. Not going to be my salary. Let's just pay that right now. Let's get it out of the way. Let's do that. Yeah, I'll restructure in that sense. Let's do that. All right, got it. Ready, break. Okay. That's what I want to hear. So I think they're going to get a deal done. I just don't know if these get a deal done via olive branch. Does that make sense? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. I want to hear from you. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show right around the corner.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. Hey, the Four Seasons Island Resort, they've got all kinds of availability, but if you love tequila, some of you have a love affair with it. I think that's fair. I think others, like myself, I like it. It just doesn't love me. But if you can't make it to Mexico for Cinco de Mayo, head to the Four Seasons Island Resort the weekend of April 30th. You know what that weekend is? It's this weekend. Reservation only tequila dinner in the Diamond Room on Friday night. And you can email Barb at the4seasonswi.com, the4seasonswi.com to reserve a seat. Now, think about it this way. You also have the Derby going on. You go up there, you're kind of in that rockin' 20s style, eclectic place, even though they've got that addition that is just beautiful. And it hosts a giant pool and hot tub. And if you want to take the family and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it wouldn't be put it past you to throw on a big hat, some cool pimping clothes. You're good to go. Head on out. Watch it in the upstairs bar, the Kentucky Derby, maybe a mint julep going your way. Or if you want to go all in, you can do a little Mexican food, some beverage specials, maybe do that regular tequila. You know what I mean? Regular tequila in the mint tequila. They have that out there too. The mint julep tequila. Ooh. Think about that. The river course is open, by the way, so if you want to book your tee time, you can do that. They've got a 9-hole executive, which is just beautiful to play. You can take mom up there for Mother's Day weekend and for the big brunch. And reservations are available for that as well. But so much going on at the Four Seasons Island Resort. And call for the Bill Michaels special. I tell you this all the time. Get a hold of our girl Barb up there. B-A-R-B, Barb, at the4, F-O-U-R, Seasons, WI.com. Barb at the4 Seasons, WI.com. Mom can go up, relax in the pool, in the sauna, in the hot tub, all that kind of good stuff. Take Mom up there. You can do whitewater rafting if you choose to do so, golf, ATV rides, pontoon, all that kind of good stuff. If you just want to call and find out the information about the Bill Michaels special, 715-324-5800. 715-324-5800. That's the Four Seasons Island Resort. Go to the4seasonswi.com for more info to check it out. Good stuff up there. Good stuff. By the way, Jesse says it is all or nothing. Either go hard for a Super Bowl or go home. Trade Rodgers and start the official rebuild right now. You've got Marv who says, by the way, he's talking about Point Brewing up in Stevens Point. Said the Point Amber and Bach are awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. Here's a side note for you. Little health note, in case you did not know. The Bucks and the Milwaukee Health Department have teamed up. Coming up on Sunday, this Sunday at the Fiserv Forum, Sunday, May 2nd, any eligible fan attending the Bucks game can not only come and see the game, you get your first dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. How about that? Come on in. It's not remember when it used to be like Jersey Day or mug giveaway? Now it's come and get the vaccine day. There you go. The vaccination site is going to be located in the Panorama Club, which is upstairs inside the Fiserv Forum. It's going to be open from 1 o'clock through the conclusion of the game, which tips off at 2:30. And all fans 16 years of age or older may visit the club anytime during this window to receive their first dose of the vaccine. And after fans receive their first vaccine dose on Sunday, the Milwaukee Health Department officials will then be on site to schedule an appointment for the second dose to be administered at a future date. The only thing that sucks about that is it's on a Sunday, and if you're coming, say, in from out of town, well, you're going to have to work with one of your local municipalities to get your second dose. But it's not a Jersey Day. It's not a free mug giveaway. It's not a Bucks ball cap giveaway. It's not a bobblehead day. It's a vaccination day. Now, in today's day and age, I like it, okay? But it doesn't have the same panache. You know what I mean? Now, if they said, we are going to give you 2 tickets to another game if you get vaccinated, okay, there's a little more incentive there, and that's kind of making it worth it. I mean, don't get me wrong, not getting sick over a period of time makes it worth your while, but it's a little different, you know? Vaccination day versus, the Giannis bobblehead day. A little bit different there. A little bit different. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Want to hit us up? Do it. This is from Jacob. Jacob says, after listening to Brian Gutekunst earlier on your show this morning, which he wasn't on my show, it was the replay from yesterday. Let's just make that clear. I don't want people assuming that we had Brian Gutekunst on the air. It makes me think as to whether or not we have the right management team in place in Green Bay. I like his style because at least he answers some questions, even though he doesn't say much. But when it comes to signing free agents, they act like signing free agents is just signing their own, and that's a big deal. They do. They do act like that's a big deal. I mean, let's be honest. Re-signing Aaron Jones is a big deal. That was a pretty solid signing. Real quick, let's go to our buddy Frank listening to us in Catawba. Frank, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm doing real good. Hey, I just got in my car, so I was able to catch part of Andy's visit with you. You know, he makes a couple of very good points when he talks about the Packers not going after other teams' free agents, that might have value. I can give you a great example of it. A couple of years ago in 2018, Mason Cole, he was an offensive lineman for Michigan. He played center and tackle for him. I had the Packers picking him in the fourth, and he went in the third to the Cardinals, and he struggled with his pass blocking, and he just backed up, and he wasn't what he should have been. But in 2019, for 2 games, their left tackle went out with injury, or left guard rather. They put him at left guard, and he was like a completely different player.
Right.
His run blocking, which was always solid, man, it just went off the charts, and his pass blocking improved as well. So after the starter come back, well, then he went back on the bench. Well, it turns out just a couple of weeks ago, they go and they trade him to Minnesota for a 6th-round pick. Well, he's going to play guard at Minnesota, and he's a hell of a guard. He was never athletic enough to be a center or a left tackle for that matter. So he's perfectly suited to that guard position. And here he was readily available, and we don't make a move on him. And if I, as a fan, know about that, you would think that the Packers, the professionals, would know about it. And another case in point is Austin Blythe. Blythe got drafted in 15 by the Colts, late, I think 7th round. I had him coming to the Packers because he's an Iowa offensive lineman. And all their linemen are great. Well, anyway, he goes, he knocks around, he gets cut, he goes to the Rams, he plays for them. And anyway, Kansas City, the best organization around now, in my opinion, as far as making moves ahead, like a smart chess player. They go and they sign him to a free agent contract for not very much money at all. And these are guys, you've got to have the inside, the interior of your offensive line. You've got to have that. You have to have athletic people there because it's interior quickness on the defense that hurts you. Mm-hmm. It hurts you in your run game performance, and it'll hurt with collapsing the pocket and not allowing the quarterback to step up in the pocket. It's not an edge rusher that you got to worry about. It's the interior quickness, and you've got to have quick people on the pivot and athletic people at guard. So there's 2 examples that I think they both would have done really well in Green Bay, and they don't make a move on it. Historically, when we had Ted in town, he's never ever moved. Another team would put a high value, or what I thought was a high value player, and I wouldn't even bring him in. And I don't know where the bias came. To your question about Rodgers, if you ever had milk that maybe started to sour, you left it out overnight on the kitchen table, and you thought, oh hell, it's not really badly sour. I'll put it in the fridge and get it chilled, and it'll be okay. And it does. It curdles. Right. And I think that happened with Aaron Rodgers.
You think that it's just too far gone, too much water under the bridge?
Well, not drafting that wide receiver last year. Rodgers is the kind of guy, he's peckish. He does stuff obliquely. But if you saw the video of him after he got drafted, they asked him, hey, do you feel bad about dropping so far? He said not about Frisco not taking you. What did he say? Not as bad as they're going to feel about them not taking me. He holds grudges, and I think that he's. Woodson is right when he said there's going to be a divorce coming in Green Bay. So. Anyway, that's all I had on that. Did you get my email today?
I did, as a matter of fact. I appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, the one thing, and I appreciate the phone call because I want to follow up, and I got to do this after the break here. But I do want to follow up because he talked about bringing in Blythe. And Blythe, 2 things there. I mean, one, he grew up a Kansas City Chiefs fan, so he wanted to be a Chief. But the follow-up to Andy Herman, I swallowed wrong. I basically said it was a product of the Packers not having any money. They don't have any money to buy any more free agents. Let's do this. I'll take a quick break. I'll come back. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back, and thanks for following over on the live stream, the Bud Light live stream. If you want to watch the show, you can over on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch TV. You can also email me if you choose to do so, the Bill Michaels, THEBillMichaels@gmail.com. And that's the same as the website, thebillmichaels.com, thebillmichaels.com. You can also give us a call, 877-867-1670. Prior to, I had to take a break because I just swallowed wrong, and next thing you know, I'm choking to death. But Frank, who called in from Catawba, said that he was talking about Blythe, Austin Blythe, and yeah, he ended up going to Kansas City. Blythe wanted to go to Kansas City. He took less to go there. That was kind of the team that he grew up rooting for. He said, I wanted to come and play for a great team. And remember, Kansas City in the midst right now, really reshuffling that offensive line after they had some injuries that really kind of decimated that group going into the Super Bowl. They released their left tackle, Eric Fisher. He's coming back from that torn Achilles. And then the right tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, I should say. He had back surgery, and the team signed their coveted free agent guard, Joe Tunney. They brought in Kyle Long. They brought him out of retirement. Kyle Long decided to come back and play for Kansas City. And Kyle Long, remember, he has been traditionally banged up for quite some time. And they also brought back the offensive tackle, Mike Remmers, who mainly filled in at right tackle for Schwartz throughout the season. So they needed themselves another, veteran center, and that's who they went out and got. And they pick up Blythe, and there you go. But I go back to the point that the Packers, even if they wanted to bring him in, and Andy Herman's 100% right. And if you missed the conversation, you can always go back and listen to it on the Bud Light live stream after this program's over, or on the website. But the Packers didn't go after him because I just don't think they have the money. They have not restructured the deals enough to be able to make something like that happen. In addition to that, and that's when Andy Herman had said, hey, look, you would figure that if the Packers, scouting department would say, hey, we looked at this guy a few years back. This guy's quality, man. He's out of this particular team. Let's bring him in here. We thought this guy was good back then, but they're not doing that. So when you talk about free agency, it is great to pound your chest and say, we have signed free agents. Oh, by the way, they're the same guys you saw on the team last year. So the old adage in the NFL is if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. There is no in between. This team feels like the last 2 years they punched their face against the wall. They just need to break the wall down. The problem is, in many facets, when you continually punch against the same wall and you're doing it with the same guys, what are we relying upon now? Think about this. What are you relying upon now? You've gotten worse overall when it comes to starters. You still have Kamal Martin. You still have Chris Barnes. You still have Kenny Clark, Preston Zadaria, still Rashawn Gary. There is no depth with Christian Kirksey. You bring back Kevin King, Johnny Alexander, Darnell Savage Jr., Adrian Amos. Okay, you got that. You're going to start the season most likely without the services of your all-pro left tackle, David Bakhtiari. You've lost your Pro Bowl center. So now you've got to take that line that was so good at keeping the quarterback upright, and you got to mix and mash it now and adjust it a little bit. So, you know what I mean? Did you get better? Did you get better? Are you better? Or are you just the same old, same old? You know? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, go ahead and do it. Love to hear from you. 877-867-1670. Hey, one of the things I mentioned today coming into the program where I said I thought the NHL was going to be a little bit, and I don't talk a lot of NHL, but I think the NHL is going to lose out. And I know it may not be a big deal. The NHL is leaving NBC. They're going to ESPN. ESPN is going to sink everything they have into making that work. I get that. But when you leave, just think about this. When you're on a weekend and you're flipping through the channels, you know, and you're going and going and going, and then there's a big game on, and it's on NBC. It's like, okay, I can turn it on in the background. It might be, if you're not a hockey fan, it might be, you know, I'll leave it here for a minute or two. But if you have ESPN, that's almost destinational viewing when you're talking about cable, because there are still people that have not gone into the cable direction, and maybe they don't have it on some of the streaming services. I think personally, if they're going to put more and more hockey and expose more and more people to it, that's great. But you're going to ESPN and TNT. TNT is not destinational viewing for hockey. It's usually for the NBA. Now, you may get some crossover, who knows, but usually hockey fans are not big, unless you're just a sports fan in general. Usually hockey fans aren't NBA fans, and NBA fans aren't hockey fans. It's a little different demographic. And just a little bit, it's a lot different sport. But I just wonder if it's going to be a good thing for the NHL to pull it from NBC. Now, NBC, look, they're not doing them any favors by putting them on NBC Sports during the week and on some of those back channels, so I agree with that. But I don't know if that's going to be just a good move for the NHL to take it away from those weekend games that brought people into hockey for free when you're just flipping around. You know what I mean? Now, I know they may put some of those bigger games over on ABC, but it seems like in just reading a lot of the fine print that it's going to be a lot of games going to be ESPN and Turner, TNT. I think hockey's terrific. I just know that flipping around on a Saturday when that game's on, I'm like, oh, okay, here it is. So I hope that they have a lot more of those games on ABC, because NBC is no longer going to broadcast the NHL. It's going to add Turner, which is TBS, and TNT as that partner. But ESPN becomes the primary partner in the network. And they would have left NBC, you know, kind of playing second fiddle, so to speak, and it is now pulled out of the talks. NBC did. But Turner Sports jumped back into that picture, so they're going to go. NBC still going to carry the league through the summer Stanley Cup, which is scheduled to end mid-July, I think, in advance of NBC's Olympic coverage. And then after that, that's pretty much it. ESPN and Turner, they're going to split the playoffs with one conference final apiece next season, and then go from there. But I hope, I really hope the NHL gains more followers and gains more fans because of this. anytime you're just going solely to cable and taking away from even the over-the-air networks, it's destinational viewing. It always scares me a little bit. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Last night saw the Miami Marlins get to Brewers pitcher Corbin Burnes. Yes, even he is not immune to having an off night. Burnes, who allowed just 8 hits and 1 run while striking out 40 batters over his first 5 starts, was tagged for 5 runs, 4 earned over 5 innings of work, sending his ERA to .37 to 1.53 and 2-2 on the year. The Brewers are back at it this evening, Game 2 against the Marlins. First pitch is at 6:40 from American Family Field. To the NFL, the draft is Thursday night, and Packers GM Brian Gutey met with the media yesterday, but the majority of questions centered on the contract of Aaron Rodgers and if he was the long-term quarterback for the Packers.
We're really excited about Aaron Rodgers and his future with the Green Bay Packers. We think he's going to be our quarterback for the foreseeable future, and I think that obviously every year there's different things you go through to kind of get to the season, and I think we're going through those right now, whether it be contractually, whether it be working with our players on other things, and that's where we are.
Rodgers is still under contract, and the NFL's draft is 2 nights away.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm. Built for real life.
Spring practice continues on for the Wisconsin football team, and Jim Leonard likes how his defense is coming around.
We have some dynamic playmakers. We've done a great job recruiting to what this scheme is and fitting guys in, I guess, to where those positions are that you can kind of isolate the most dynamic guys. I think that's what I'm most proud of and happy with the coaching staff as far as how we've been able to get that done.
For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm
Bill Michaels Show, hour number 4. How are we looking? Hopefully you're having a good day today. Hopefully you are. And at least getting out, it's not real sunny here, but at least it's warmer here. Loving the warmth. Big time. Loving the warmth. So hopefully it's not going to stay that way. It's going to be kind of up and down. I know that, but nevertheless, at least get out and enjoy it today. Going to get a little bit cooler tomorrow, warm up over the weekend. Although I see the temperature trend for where they had it to where it is now is dropping by 3 to 5 degrees, depending on where you're at. So they predicted it much warmer, and that is because it was supposed to be, I think, 65 come this weekend, and now they're saying like just a high of 60, which is different, especially if you're near the lake. Going to be downtown for the Derby Day party at MKE Brewing coming up on Saturday. Another fine sponsor of the program, by the way. Today, the righty Adrian Hauser goes to the hill against Danielle Castano, I should say. That game tonight coming up. 6:40 Central Time, then a 12:40 Central Time game tomorrow for the Brewers and the Marlins. Brewers trying to bounce back after a loss last night, 8-0. They get beat. Corbin Burnes giving up 5 runs, 4 earned, and had taken a loss in that one. He started the game with a 0.37 ERA, and that ERA is now over 1.5. Still great, don't get me wrong, but last night was a little bit different. Just had an off night regarding the Brewers. In the meantime, we continue to discuss the Green Bay Packers as we're only a couple of days away from the draft. In addition to that, you've got Brian Gutekunst, who has now spoken and said for the foreseeable future, which many of you have taken it to task and stating that you're doing things yourself to the foreseeable future. So it is what it is. And I completely get it. It's been pretty funny, actually. I had Dave, who works for Waste Management, says, yeah, I can see telling my customers, I'm going to pick your garbage up. Absolutely. In the foreseeable future. That should be on a t-shirt. Just insert whatever sentence here, and then after that, always follow it up with in the foreseeable future and go from there. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. I asked a question, and it's over on Facebook, also over on Twitter. I said, after hearing from Green Bay Packers GM Brian Gutekunst, how do you feel about where the franchise is at? And do you feel good about where they are headed? Jeff says, I think they need to pull off a trade and unload Love. Rodgers isn't going anywhere for a few years. Trade up and grab Pitts. Then the rest of the draft, outside line or offensive lineman, defensive back, inside linebacker, and build the defense. Shawnee McSweets said, I feel a lot better if we had Patrick Queen rather than Jordan Love, if that's the case. You're kicking me right in the crotch with that one. Just an FYI. I felt that last year as well. Jason said, is this Ted Thompson 2.0? He should trade or release Preston Smith, put Gary in that spot. Time to find out if the dude can play. Smith has not done much lately. Keep drafting all those defensive players only to have them end up on other teams or not pan out like King. Still won't win a Super Bowl without one more playmaker on the offense and not some kid from the 5th round. Although, 5th round, there have been, look, Donald Driver was a 7th rounder. It's not about when you find them. It's about what quality they are. Do they fit your system? Do they? I go back to a conversation years ago when we were doing the postgame show, myself and Brian Noble. And, Brian had always said, look, it doesn't matter sometimes the size of the strength of the player. It's the heart of the player. If you got a football player, a guy that wants to play, live, eat, breathe football, and just is doing anything and everything he can to win a championship and help his team be better and help himself be better, that's the guy you take. And by the way, yes, Bart Starr was a 15th round draft choice. So yeah, you can find diamonds in the rough. I mean, look, undrafted free agents, guys that don't get picked up, guys that, college free agents that never get drafted, Tremont Williams, he was that guy. You find the diamond in the rough, Sam Shields, same thing. Perry says, smart to hang on to Love. Great organizations like the Cowboys of the 60s and 70s, early 80s have that ascension plan. What is in place is a great problem to have, and we all know I ticked off Rodgers plays better. Gutey, I think, is playing the mind game as well here, supportive to Rodgers, but also a little subtle on the play at high level side. I think the franchise learned a lot with Favre dragging through the retirement talks every year, and it hurt the growth of the franchise until Rodgers came along. Power needs to be with the franchise, not the player here, for a team to keep on winning long term. Listen, I love Aaron and all that we do, and we all do. He plays like this and forces Love to learn longer. We end up with a stronger, better Love when the time actually comes. Forces Love to raise his level of play as well when he gets his chance to play. Different circumstance though, different personality. And what you don't want to do is drive a wedge so deep that Aaron Rodgers just wants out. Last year was that was my scorched earth tour if I'm Aaron Rodgers. This year, what have you done for me lately? This year is kind of that last gasp. The end is near. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So this year is more of the last gasp than it is I'm throwing the chip on my shoulder and I'm going to come out and just whoop ass. He always wants to play well. There's nothing different about that. As a kid growing up without cable, I have never been a big fan of when huge sporting events are exclusive to cable. Wasn't a big fan when the ESPN got the rights to the college football playoffs. At the time, the national championship is only aired on ESPN, not ABC, losing out viewers by doing that. That I agree with. We were talking about the NHL before. The NHL is leaving NBC. They're going with ESPN, TNT, and TBS with Turner. And they may air some games and such on ABC. But I think for the most part, the NHL kind of going the way, a little bit of what NASCAR did, is that they're getting away from the over-the-air channels on the weekends and they're going to the cable. And I'll tell you this, NASCAR, I think when they split it and they took Fox and then NBC. Now, they did it out of necessity because once football starts, there's not a whole lot of people watching NASCAR. There's still NASCAR fans, but football reigns supreme. You just don't want to go up against the NFL. So Fox would bump them, it's okay if you go to NBC and you have it live on NBC, but NBC took them to that NBC Sports channel. Fox pushed them back to FS1, and it seemed like if you wanted to watch NASCAR, it was, now, if you're a NASCAR fanatic, yeah, you knew where it was. You paid attention. But if you're not a NASCAR fan and you're just kind of scanning to see where it's at, it's not easy to find. 877-867-1670. Daniel says, he saw Elmo just a little while ago. Said, good to see Elmo got out of the cone of shame. Here's some sad news. And this is where I say, hey, say a little prayer, is my dog Mickey, who is here in the room with me, is in not good shape. Found out this morning he has been, since Thursday, been having trouble walking, and it's been noticeable. And over the last 24, 48 hours, he's gotten progressively worse. And today he cannot walk on his own. Mickey's going to be 14 in June. And, after taking video, we were told by the vet that he has what's called vestibular disease. At least that's the diagnosis right now. Vestibular disease is like having the worst vertigo you could possibly have. You just can't physically stand up. You can't eat. You can't look at the horizon. You can't gain your senses because you're constantly spinning. And in some dogs, like Elmo a year ago, when Elmo got it, after a couple of days, it went away. It just shows up, affects your brain and your ability to see and the vertigo and your equilibrium, and then it goes away for whatever reason. Mickey has got progressively worse since last Thursday. And this morning, I thought I was going to have to put him down. And so I'm taking another 24, 48 hours just to see how he does. We put him on some different medication. But he's in here with me. But he doesn't have the ability to really walk. I have to pick him up and carry him everywhere. So, yes, Elmo is out of the cone and he's doing okay. But he spent all of last night from about 2:30 on laying next to his buddy, literally kind of crying because Mickey's in such bad shape. So say a little prayer there. I don't mean to bring the show down, but I noticed that some people did notice Elmo was out of the cone. I always appreciate that. But Mickey, who is laying over here just off to my right, is not doing real well. So hopefully he comes through this. Just crossing my fingers that the vestibular starts to leave and get out of his system and whatever it does. But he's on some pretty heavy medication, tranquilizers, and even a Dramamine every 4 hours just so he just can sleep and lay down and not worry about it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So hopefully he pulls through. We'll see. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, by all means do so. This is from Jacob, who says, hey, love listening to the program. By the way, Jacob listening to us in Shawano. Love catching the program up there on our fine affiliate in Shawano. Thanks to them for carrying the program. He says, I think the Green Bay Packers need to go after a tight end, somebody to back up Robert Tonyan. Tonyan's a good wide receiver, but you need another guy. Who do you think they go after? Well, don't forget, Josiah DeGuara is also a guy that they can go after. They can also go in that direction if they choose to do so. And use Josiah DeGuara as a tight end. They can use him as an H-back. They can even split him out if they need to. Tonyan, obviously a very good pass catcher. But he would be one of the other guys. And then you have Jay Sternberger, their third-round draft choice. It's time for Jay Sternberger to kind of blank or get off the pot, They do have Dominic Daphne and such, But when you're talking about the youth, the up-and-comers, it's Jay Sternberger's the other guy. He was the third-round draft choice going back to 2019. So they still have a lot of belief in him. I don't think they're going to jump up to get a draft choice. Now, let's just say for blanks and giggles that by the time it's all said and done, Kyle Pitts is sitting there at 20, which will never happen, but for lack of an argument, let's say Pitts is there at 20, then you would jump up. But you're not going to jump up to 3 or 4 to get him. You're just not going to do it. Not going to happen. And probably 4 is where you would take him. That would be where the Atlanta Falcons would be drafting, because most likely it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. He's going to end up going to Jacksonville. Zach Wilson appears to be the fan favorite in New York for the Jets. And then it's either going to be Mac Jones or Justin Fields, depending on who you believe. I think San Francisco is going to go with Mac Jones, because remember, Kyle Shanahan said that he wasn't even sure Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be alive come Sunday. So they got to draft a quarterback. So then that's where Kyle Pitts is most likely to go. And then after that, Cincinnati's probably going to try to go after the offensive tackle Sewell, because they need to protect Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow got banged up last year. And Trey, it could still be, if Atlanta doesn't take, there's some thoughts that if Atlanta wants to trade back, they probably could. The most likely trade partner would be a team like, say, Miami, that wants to jump up and get Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. He's the best receiver and such in the draft. And then you put him with Tua, and then things start to get better offensively down there. There's still Trey Lance, which, by the way, did you see what Bob McGinn wrote about Trey Lance? That he had talked to numerous scouts, and the arguments that Trey Lance's hand's not real big. His receivers had to be spectacular to catch passes from him. And such. Some Trey Lance, there's a lot of people that really like Trey Lance. I don't know, because he's got the comparison of Cam Newton. I don't know that I would compare him to Cam Newton. I don't think I would. And then they're saying, well, you got like a Dwayne Haskins, Mark Sanchez. That might be more likely, and both of which were okay at best. But to draft a guy that would be considered your franchise quarterback that high, that compares to the like of Dwayne Haskins Jr. and Mark Sanchez, I don't know if I'm doing that, because after that, Spriggs won't last, because you got Detroit sitting there. Even though Hawkins Smith has played extremely well, you just wouldn't pass on him. You put another receiver in the lineup over there for Jared Goff. Carolina wouldn't pass on him. Hell, I don't even think Denver would pass on him. So, Spriggs is not going to be there. Just an FYI, he's just not going to be there. 877-867-1670. Go ahead and hit us up. Give us a share. We got a lot more to Bill right after.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. So, I don't usually go to Bears fans or anybody that, covers fantasy football as a Bears fan for commentary. But Adam Rank tweeted something out, and I thought it was rather apropos. He said, Jordan Love could eventually be an all-pro. But it's ridiculous not to give Aaron Rodgers the supporting cast that he needs. As a football fan, I find this irresponsible. He then says, as a Bears fan, I encourage you to keep doing it. Draft another quarterback in this year's draft as well. But I that's the sentimentality. Packers are open to new deals with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams when the time is right. But for right now, they have Rodgers under contract for 3 more seasons. And he is the reigning MVP. And as Brian Gutekunst did say, he's our guy. I still think that eventually something gets done properly between these two sides. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. Mark says, let me say 2 things. First of all, the NHL going to ESPN, I don't watch ESPN anymore, never will. And as an NHL fan, it makes me sad. Number 2, he says, as a Packers fan, I think the Packers should be going all in with Aaron Rodgers, at least for the next couple of years. And then after that, don't keep anything else additional on the books, the least amount of money possible. So that way, Jordan Love, if he indeed takes over, can have the best team around him. It's the problem is, COVID hit and screwed it all up. COVID screwed it all up. That's it. When COVID hit, it took the salary cap down. That's just it. Salary cap went down. It's not something that anybody planned on. Prior to all of this, had the Packers known the cap was going down, maybe they shuffle things a little bit differently for Aaron Rodgers in these particular years, but you just didn't know. You just didn't know. What else do we have here? This is from Jason, who says, everybody keeps comparing Aaron Rodgers' salary to what Tom Brady is making. What exactly is Tom Brady making? Because I would love to know, because it doesn't seem like Brady is taking that big of a pay cut. Well, Tom Brady, okay, when you look at Tom Brady's figure, Tom Brady is not even the highest paid player on the team. Mike Evans is. Chris Godwin, well, Mike Evans' base salary is a little bit less than Godwin. Godwin makes 15.9. Mike Evans makes 12.2. But the actual salary cap hit is 16.6 for Evans and Chris Godwin making 15.9. Okay, I'm getting there. And Jason Pierre-Paul makes 12.8. Marpet makes 10.2, but total cap hit is 12.0, so $12 million. And he makes 6.61% of the team's total salary cap. Tom Brady this year makes $10.5 million total. He gets the signing bonus of $8 million, the roster bonus of 1.4, the actual base salary of 1.075. He accounts for 5.7% of his team's total cap hit. Now, when he restructured, next year he will account for $16.9 million. And the year after that, when the contract continues to roll on, he'll account for $24 million in dead cap space, and then after that, he's off. So basically 2-3 years. And that would put him at age 45 and 46 years old. Okay? You with me so far? Now, the Packers are a little bit different shape because Aaron Rodgers is still 37 years old. So it's not that huge of a difference. But, so 5.61 is what Tom Brady makes. Aaron Rodgers, as of right now, makes 19.98% total of the team's cap. No player, no quarterback in the history of the game has ever made more than 13.9% of the team's total cap and won a Super Bowl. Just saying. And Aaron Rodgers, right now, as it stands, is the largest cap hit to any team in the National Football League. 14.7 in base, 11.5 in signing. Roster bonus, he's already been paid of 6.8. Workout bonus of 500,000. Restructure of 2.85. And miscellaneous, he gets just under $1 million, which gives you a dead cap hit of 38.3. But a cap hit this year is 37.2. 37.2 million right now. Now, if Aaron Rodgers decides, you know what, he wants to restructure and convert some of this into different bonuses and such, well, then he can go ahead and do so. Then his cap hit goes down. But right now it's 37.2. If he took $14 million of the $700,000 signing bonus and converted base salary and converted that to signing bonus, you get $14 million back. Like next year, his base salary is $25 million. $25 million. So if you ended up getting rid of him after this season, it would cost you $7.2 million. After the 2023 season, it would only cost you $2.8 million to cut him loose, as opposed to paying him close to 30, which is, I think, 29 million. But next year, his dead cap hit, or his cap hit, goes up to almost $40 million. That's the reason you need to restructure that deal. So the difference between Tom Brady, who's making 5.6, and Aaron Rodgers making 19.8. What did I say? 19.8, I think, for Rodgers, something like that. That's a huge chunk of 19.98. Excuse me, almost 20% of his team's total salary. That's a huge difference. Huge. So yes, there is a difference in salary. There is a difference as opposed to what each are making. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Hit us up again, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. So hopefully that answers your question. Mackerel Dave. Mackerel Dave, by the way, listening to us in Wausau today. Mackerel Dave drives a truck for Ryder and says, I love the program. I think Aaron Rodgers should put the hat in quotations, on the Packers. Just tell him he wants to take a little bit less to stay and to rework the deal now. Say it publicly, and the Packers would have no choice but to come to the bargaining table. See, I agree. I've said this before. If Aaron Rodgers came out and said anything like that, Packers fans would be like, okay, great. He's a team player. Let's go. Sign him. What are you waiting for? It would put pressure on the organization. But I don't know if he's doing something regarding respect, or if he's doing something where he's just going to let him twist in the wind. I don't know. I couldn't honestly tell you. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And Brian Gutekunst at least alluded to the fact that they have spoken. You know? Let's go to our buddy Tim, listening to us in Sparta. Tim, welcome to the program, man. What's happening?
Long time no talk, Bill.
How you been, buddy?
Good today. I've been well. The guys that I talk to say that
part of this deal with Rodgers is that, he is looking for that respect because he's played with that edge on, that log on his shoulder for forever after getting picked at 24. He's thankful that Green Bay took him and everything else. But the big deal here, the difference between Rodgers and Brady is that Rodgers hasn't gotten Michelle Bunchen making him all kinds of money on the side.
Correct.
I mean, what's his wife's name?
Giselle
Brady's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a model, she was making $40 million a year, $50 million a year in modeling while he was with the Patriots. So he could afford to go, I'll take 18. I'll take 20.
Uh-huh.
Because for him, Mama was bringing home a lot more cash than he was.
Right. I agree with. 100%.
And then still just relax until we get to the June 1st cuts. I think that once that happens, you see who's out there, you see what's going on. I think you will then see a restructuring of his deal. Everybody knows it's got to happen. If it doesn't, then Green Bay is completely hosed, which includes Rodgers. And if there's one thing that he doesn't want to be at this stage of his career, is hosed.
Right.
So you have a great day out there, Bill. Take care.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. He gets off, you get on. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Now, here's one thing to keep in mind, and he's right. Aaron Rodgers has not had Giselle Bündchen and such and all that kind of stuff, okay? However, I'm just going to kind of throw this out here. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just going to simply say Aaron Rodgers has made about $170 million in his career. I think that's about, he signed the $110 million a while back, $63.5 million in 2009 to 2014, and 2005 to 2009 made 7.7. So do the math, 70, 110, so about 180 million actually. About 180 million overall. So it's not like he's not set for life. You know what I mean? It comes down to after, and I look, I am never, ever, ever going to begrudge anybody money. Well, let me go through this. If you go by Sport Track, who goes by his earnings year by year by year, what he actually supposedly took home, it's even higher. It goes 2.3 the first year, 3.3 the second year, 500,000 the third year, 12.9, 8.6, 6.5, 7.7. So even going back to 2012, he's only making 8.5. It wasn't until 2013. Think about this year they won a Super Bowl, he was making 6.5 million. 6.5. 7.7 the year after that. That's the reason they had all that talent. Then he made 38, then 10, then 11, then 12, then 13, then 2018 total 66, 15 million 2 years ago, and 21.5 last year, which gives you a grand total of $240,943,304. Now, if he plays out his deal as is, Aaron Rodgers in his career will have made $314,793,304. That's when you say, well, yeah, I get it. And he's got this, he's got that. And okay. But at what point do you say, you know what? I'm just in it to win it one more time. And again, he's worth every damn penny. He's probably, if you look at some of the numbers that I just read to you, he's underpaid. He's been underpaid. Now he's making the right amount of money compared to others, but he's been underpaid for pretty much all of his career for what he's been able to accomplish. You know? So now you take the giant grasp at the ring one more time to see if you can get another 30, 40, 50 million bucks out of it and put you up right around 350 million. But again, what's 20 million among friends, right? Think about that. Hang in there. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. Got a couple of segments left before we get you out of here. Good stuff today. A lot more coming up after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Gina Della from Pella, don't you just love fresh air and sunshine? It's so stimulating.
Absolutely. You know, Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin is in the fresh air and sunshine business.
Since when?
Since like forever.
Seriously?
Think about it. By upgrading with Pella replacement windows, you can let the sun shine in as much as you want with blinds and shades between the glass.
And Pella's available roll screen lets you get a breath of fresh air when you need one. Then it rolls away out of sight when you don't.
Very stimulating.
Hey, wouldn't it be smart to use the latest stimulus check or your tax refund to invest in energy-efficient Pella windows and doors?
That's a great idea, especially now. Order by April 30th and get secure, no-interest financing.
Pella now, pay later. Now that's a stimulating breath of fresh air.
Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or 855-PELLA-WI.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom fees.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Hey, the originals. You know, when there's something really, really good, a lot of people will try to emulate it, replicate it, duplicate it, whatever it happens to be. That's our friends over at New Mel Medical. Treating guys with ED. Others have come along, but there's only one original. That's New Mel Medical Center. They've been doing it right for a long, long time. And the medical experts there, they're helping guys with ED, erectile dysfunction, whether it's all over the state, beyond the borders. They've got a 98% success rate. That is 98%. Think about that. All but guaranteeing that they can help you. And when it comes to low energy, brain fog, if you're a little bit sluggish, moody, up and down, whatever it could be. If you're over the age of 30, it could be low T, low testosterone. And you see ads all over the place for pills and such. No, it's not going to happen, okay? There are certain ways to get that into your body and get it into your body correctly. And they help you out with that. Start feeling better, more energized, that type of thing. You can start losing some weight because of it, specifically around the midsection. And especially if you've gone through COVID and you've come out with the COVID-10 or the COVID-19 or the COVID-30, whatever it happens to be. And yes, it works. I talk about it all the time. Whether it's energy, maybe some supplements, whether it's some things that just kind of make you feel a little bit better, put pep in your step, they can help you out. Call my guys with locations in Milwaukee and in Green Bay from the New Mel Medical Center. New Mel Medical Center, 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. 414-455-4451. Also, I want to remind you, our good friends with grilling season heating up, our good friends over there at Quick Trip, whether it's the lowest legal beer prices on 24 and 30 packs, you can stop by and pick up anything at Quick Trip that you need, everything you need for your grilling, your tailgating, your one-stop shop for everything. That is our friends over there at Quick Trip. Scott said, hey, to remind you, Brady also has 24 million in voidable years as well, as opposed to what Aaron Rodgers has. So, yes, I do understand that. I do understand that. They spread a little bit of that money out. That is voidable years for one Tom Brady. 877-867-1670. This is from Dave. Dave says, hey, praying for the pup. Thank you very much. And the prayers for Mickey. He said, I think the Green Bay Packers are going to stand pat right now on Aaron Rodgers, but don't expect them to stand pat for long. I think something is going to happen with Davante Adams first and then Aaron Rodgers, because eventually you're going to need to get all these guys in under the cap for not only this season, but next season, because you're not going to have much money. We're going to be stuck in the same boat. It's not easy to say push all the chips to the middle of the table, but I certainly would like to see this organization do a little bit more in restructuring Rodgers and being able to restructure Davante Adams and extend him, because he is one of the best wide receivers in all of football. And that I completely agree with you. And like I said, I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Rob says, sorry to hear about the pup. Prayers coming yours and Mickey's way. Hope I have made his name correct. Nothing more beautiful. Hoping he rebounds and comes through. Hang in there. Rob, thank you a lot. Thank you a lot. Corey says, I think that the Green Bay Packers need a cornerback, somebody to put pressure on King to keep his starting job, or somebody that can start out covering in the slot. I like King when he's healthy, but when he's not, he becomes a liability, and I don't think he's altogether smart to begin with. At times gets caught looking into the backfield and does not play the receiver, but plays the quarterback in the quarterback's eyes. That can be good for some who have the speed and the ability to overcome, but King is not that guy. That's from Corey. Corey, thank you so much. I think, last year I remember having conversations during the season that when you had Kevin King healthy, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was one of the best secondaries in all of football. So I'm not going to sit here today and now say Kevin King isn't that good. No, Kevin King's a good corner. And he took a lot more of the throws only for the fact that, nobody was throwing at Jair Alexander. But what I would also like to see not only is a good cover corner, but a corner with good hands. A corner who has the ability to not only knock one down, but to pick one off, to kind of up that turnover battle back there. What I'd like to see in the way. This is from Brewer Dave, who says, big one tonight. If you're going to win the series, you got to win the one tonight against the Marlins. Marlins got a sloppy one last night. Corbin Burnes did not have his A game, and the Brewers' bats are silent. Makes me shake my head. He then goes on to say, I think the Packers are going to be fine. You get an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, and a corner in the draft, maybe a middle linebacker, and then you get Aaron Rodgers, his wide receiver, after that. Well, I'm not saying you can't find a quality guy later in the draft. I'm just saying that, if you're going to hedge your bets, where would you rather hedge your bets? What is your biggest need when you talk about the best level of talent available? If you had your druthers, what would be one of the best players available that you would take, and what position would you then fill? You know what I mean? So you just say you look at where the Packers are choosing, sitting at number 29. Okay, you're going to take Ojulari, the outside linebacker, defensive end from Georgia. Let's just say he's there. There was Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver from Minnesota, who we've talked about. Zaven Collins, same thing, outside linebacker / defensive end. He's the kid from Tulsa. Terrence Marshall Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU. Jamin Davis, he's a linebacker out of Kentucky. Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida. So Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle out of Alabama. With all that talent right there, which one of those guys are you taking? Because which one of those guys do you feel will fill the position? Packers. You ask yourself. Kinger says, Quick Trip or Quick Trip? Who is better? K with a Quick Trip in the Midwest is KWIK. And then when you go south, it's Quick Trip with a Q. Quick Trip with a Q is very much like Quick Trip up here in the upper Midwest. Very big, clean. I like Quick Trip in the upper Midwest because most of that food and everything is cooked right there in the stores. It's heated up, it's processed, it's put together in La Crosse, and then it arrives that day, that morning, to each individual Quick Trip. They get deliveries every day. That's the way they do it. That their promise is that they'll make it fresh. You don't get a lot of that stuff that's sealed up in plastic. You get a lot of the stuff that's wrapped up fresh, and their variety's bigger. So Quick Trip in the South is great. I mean, I've been there numerous times. As a matter of fact, there's one that not far from the Brewers spring training facility out in Maryville. There's one just north of there on, I think, at 51st Street. And I stop there almost every day. But it's not the Quick Trip here from home. Just an FYI. ID for Life 8 says Packers can go any direction in the draft, and I'd be okay with it. And as long as you're getting a quality player at 29, I'm good with that. Just don't make it a running back, don't make it a quarterback, don't make it a kicker, don't make it a punter. Beyond, and even if you got it, like say Najee Harris falls, okay. If you take him, you got 3 really good running backs. You're set for a while at running back. I'm okay with that. That's not my first choice, but I'm okay with that. I would not poo-poo that pick unless you really have somebody else sitting there that you can go, man, you got to get this guy and hang your hat on. Final segment of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Big Unit Bill Michaels here for Scholze Family Beef. Now, you can kick off the tailgate season, whether it's at the ballpark or in your backyard, with their bratwurst. There's 4 different flavors available: beef, blue cheese, pork, and beer brats. They have pre-formed burger patties as well, skinless wieners for the kids, and even snack sticks and jerky. That's all awesome. But if you're a meat griller, Scholze Family Beef has steaks for grilling, roasts, brisket, ribs, tomahawk ribeyes for smoking. Also, Fox Smokehouse barbecue sauce and salty provision seasonings are available as well. Being a family farm, they really do have that special touch. They want you to come on by. Stop by the farm. I'm not kidding. Stop in and check out the farm store, a good old-fashioned farm store. Whether you drive or ride a motorcycle or even an ATV, come on in and sit a spell. If you want delicious pasture-raised beef delivered to your doorstep, order today, and you'll get it in a couple of days. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That is Scholze, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. From their family farm to your family's table, that is Scholze Family Beef.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Hey, don't forget our friends at Scholze Family Farms Beef. They want to remind you can kick off the tailgate season, whether it's, in your patio or at the ballpark, because, you can do that at the ballpark now. They have some brats for you, 4 different flavors: beef and blue cheese and pork and beer brats, the traditional beer brats. They've got pre-formed meat patties for hamburgers. They have those available. They have the skinless hot dogs. They have snack sticks and beef jerky and all that good stuff. And if you are a griller, they have all the different steaks, all the different chops. But if you like roasts, briskets, ribs, the tomahawk ribeyes, you can smoke those things. Also, they have available Fox Smokehouse barbecue sauce and salty provisions seasoning that you can sprinkle on there, all that good stuff. But being a family farm, look, they do it special. They do it kind of old school. They've got that special touch. They want you to stop by. Stop by the farm. Stop by the farm. The farm is actually in Humbird, Wisconsin. Humbird, Wisconsin, which is where you can stop in and see it. And you can just walk into the farm store. As they say, sit a spell, enjoy yourself, whether it's an SUV, a car, motorcycle, ATV trails nearby, by the way. So stop by with that storage facility, that storage box in the back of your ATV. Come on in, say hello, tell them we sent you. Or if you're just sitting at home and you're like, I'm not in Humbird, Wisconsin. I'm not anywhere near Black River Falls. That's okay. Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That is ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. And what you can do is, if you've never done it before, you can order kind of a sample pack, and they'll ship it right to your door. It'll show up in just a couple of days. In dry ice, you're good to go. And the best part about it, I've had numerous people tell me that, hey, I did this up north, and they shipped it to my cabin. They shipped it to my lake house, whatever it happens to be. Or if you get it shipped to your house, leave it in the box. Then all you do is throw it in the trunk of the car or wherever, take it up north, and it still stays fresh in the dry ice. That's the best part about it. Then you get up north, then you thaw it out, and you're sitting out over the open fires, and you're grilling steaks and all that kind of good stuff. So go to Scholze, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That is ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. The question is, how many interceptions and passes defended did the secondary actually have jumping around? Well, when you look at, and I had mentioned before, you'd like to see a corner that has the ability to come up with a few more picks. Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage Jr., between those two, they had 6 interceptions and 21 passes defended. Kevin King, not picked to his name, 5 passes defended, had 1 forced fumble. Jair Alexander, he had 1 interception, and he had 13, led the team with passes defended, with 13 of them last year. 13 passes defended. 1 forced fumble last year as well. Came off the edge on a sack also. But Raven Green had a pick. Shannon Sullivan had a pick. And that was it. That was it. That's your secondary. So you take your safety, Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage Jr., out of the mix. And, Christian Kirksey had a couple of picks, believe it or not. But your secondary, your actual secondary, the corners, you had a total of 3. 3 picks last year. So when I talk about, you'd like to get a guy that's got some good hands, that might be the direction in which you want to go to when you think about it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Tonight, you got the Brewers back at it. You got Adrian Hauser on the hill, the righty, 1-2 with a 3.32 ERA against the lefty, Daniel Castano. He is 0-1, 3.60 ERA tonight. 6:40 is game time again down at American Family Field. Hopefully the Brewers bats wake up after a rather tough night last night for the Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers, though, still holding a 2-game lead in the NL Central. Cardinals back at it tonight as well. Everybody's back in action tonight, as a matter of fact. So hopefully the Brewers can bounce back after that 8-0 loss. It wasn't a great outing by Corbin Burnes, but Trevor Rogers pitched 6 perfect innings, damn near. And Corey Dickerson finished a triple shy of the cycle, and the Marlins beat the Brewers last night 8-0. The bats got to wake up. Got to wake up in this one. Last night, not a great night. You did kind of see a little bit more. Colton Wong, who's just been smoking hot, now up to 333. Tyrone Taylor, again, comes in, a couple of knocks last night. You got Keston Hiura, who, again, gets another hit, 1 for 4, but it's the 3 strikeouts that he took that keeps you kind of, scratching your head a little bit. Billy McKinney continues to hit the ball as well, but hopefully the Brewers are back at it tonight. And hopefully we're talking about a win tomorrow. So up until that time tomorrow, which is only about 20 hours away, it's time for us to get out of here. Hopefully you've had a good day today and we kind of educated you a little bit or shared a lot of ideas that maybe you agreed with. Or maybe you didn't. Who knows? But until tomorrow, time for us to go.